Oh, well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Grassroots Football Show here on East London Radio. It is Thursday, the 27th of July, and we thank you very, very much for joining us this evening. And it's been a long extended break, but we are finally back on the air, and we are absolutely delighted to be back. So joining me in the hot seats tonight for this first show of season 9, by the way, something we're very, very proud of, by the way, is the legend that is Mr. Peter Dudley. Good evening, Peter.
Which is not a very hot seat at the moment, unfortunately, because the summer's disappeared. Yes. Hello. How is everybody? I'm doing well, thank you. Yeah, season 9, madness. How's that happened? How did we get to season 9? Well,
yes,
that's an amazing achievement. I think I should be proud of it. So, but yeah, it'd be 10 years next year. It'd be amazing. So, yeah, raring to go after the break. So, yeah, let's do this.
Have we got Adam?
Yeah.
Adam?
Okay. Well, happy to have you back, Pete. I am here.
Yeah, I know you are. Carry on. Go.
I am here.
Anyway, while Adam's trying to sort that out, we've also got Scott W.
Yeah, I am here. Dave, people can still hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you. What's going on? So this is what happens. You have all this time off, and then
I know
technical gremlins appear again.
Points off for gremlins.
Yes.
Absolutely. Carry on, Pete.
Yeah. Hello, Scott. How are you this evening?
Coming in the midst of gremlins. A great way for a returning tall soul to come back. Yeah, thanks, Pete. Yeah, lovely to be with you on your debut show for this fabulous 9th season. Yeah, you're right. It is an achievement. And but to be fair, it's not just the three of us this evening, is it, Pete? We've got a very special guest this evening.
It isn't. No, we're also joining us tonight, as well as Adam. Adam, are you there?
I'm back.
Right,
can everyone hear?
Awesome.
Can everyone see me?
Yeah, we can see and hear you the whole time. But you just kept saying, "Can you hear me?" Yeah, I was like, "Yeah, we can."
Yeah, it's a typical Wi-Fi mixed with typical British weather.
This is the problem. You may be in Pompey, but they got their Wi-Fi is terrible.
I know. Carry on.
Yes. So yeah, we got Adam back. Everyone's laughing at our show already after 7 minutes. But hey, we like to entertain, don't we? Yeah. Also join us tonight is none other than Frenford boss Dave Forbes, who's going to be embarking on their first season at Step 5 this season after their promotion from the Thurlow Nunn South when they won the division. Hello, Dave. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Good to have the three of you back. To be fair, it's nice to have the show back on again. Missed it for a while.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you, Dave.
Thank you.
Good to see you. And obviously here, pushing all the buttons as per usual is our resident button pusher, Ian.
Good evening. Hello, everybody. I'm still here.
Mr. Harold Wood.
Yay.
Yes, Mr. Harold Wood, yeah.
It's going to be a good year for HW.
Who got promoted last year, am I add?
I know,
I saw them. I saw them in the game that secured the win. That got them promoted. Yes.
Since I started supporting them,
yeah. It's your support that's pushed them on.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Want to bounce back from relegation the previous year.
I'm still waiting for a scarf from him or a shirt.
Oh dear. Before we start, just a little brief, a little brief word from us. Obviously, I just want to thank everyone for their extended support through the last few months. I'll include Scott in this as well, even though he probably won't admit to it himself. That obviously the three of us have had our own personal things to deal with and lives to deal with. Unfortunately, that has had to result in a extended break. So we thank everyone for their support. It was a difficult decision just to drop out because things kept cropping up all the time as Pete and Scott and Ian will know, is things earlier in the year were difficult for all of us, really. So that's why you could say we disappeared, but the warm reception we received from people when we announced we were coming back and everything was brilliant, and we thank everyone for it. And I think Forbes summed up everyone's reactions, really. When he said obviously glad to have the three of us back. So we really, really appreciate the support, because we know you miss obviously us talking about what we love. Pete says it all the time. We do this because we love it. We wouldn't do it otherwise. And we've been here for 9 years now, and it's probably been the best 9 years. It's been the best 9 years. It's been full of up and down, but it's been brilliant. For the record tonight, by the way, in the week that Britons were described as having the worst decorated houses in Europe, no Martin Brazier this evening because he's out collecting the award. Yeah, and obviously we all have fun at everyone our expenses. Obviously Pete's funny faces when we have jokes and that. People laughing at Pompey's expense when we start off like a train and then finish 10th. Laughing at Martin's horrendous curtains. And obviously Damien's wallet, which I have been informed is as empty as the arrivals lounge at a certain Greek airport, but we won't go there. But yeah, so obviously you're laughing at Ian's back garden as well. When it's waterlogged, we know Harold Wood's going to be off.
Yep.
Doesn't say much, does it?
Yeah. So yeah, we're looking forward to the new season. We thank you so much for all your support. It's been brilliant. But we're really glad to be back. We're going to start off with a bang, and we're going to actually start off with our In Focus section tonight. Actually, no Pete, there's no fireworks. We'll start with
we arranged something and we didn't realise what's going on here.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to start with our In Focus section. Obviously, our In Focus section is obviously about Frenford. So, Forbes, thank you very much for being here. We'll go back in time a bit. We'll go back to last season. Obviously, I'll say the final third of last season. So obviously, we weren't here for that. So just take us through your perspective of the title win, obviously leading up to that and everything, because obviously it was secured on the final day against Hackney Wick. But just take us through, say, the final 3 months of the season from your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough. I'm not going to lie. It was, I thought during the season we started off really poorly at the start of the season. We built into it, but we found ourselves hitting a bit of a roll and find us. I think it was always difficult because a lot of teams had games to play. We looked like we were miles in front. So, we did probably the last couple of months just have a little bit of a dip in form, and we lost a couple of key players. But everyone thinking, Frenford have thrown it away, and because of the big gap that it was there, but it was always going to close because teams had these games to play and what have you. And there's not any easy games in there. They're all tough fixtures. And like I say, I think there was one stage really where I thought, we're in a bit of bother here. And we sort of drifted out of it was always in our hands, and then there was 1 week where it went out of our hands, and that was when we had Basildon at our place, and we went down to 10 men, and we was playing actually well with the 10 men, and then we ended up with a couple minutes left going down 2-1, and everyone's thinking, you've blown it, that's it, and to our credit and to the boys' credit really, we managed to get an equaliser there. And although that draw put it out of our hands, I think it was almost like a defeat for Basildon because they hadn't beat us with so little time left. And then it was a case of with 4 or 5 games left to just stick in there, and we did, and ultimately Basildon drew with, I think it was Bengal midweek, and it put it back in our hands, and we was able to just stick to it and keep going. like I say, it's a credit to the boys. We were very fortunate through most of the season with keeping the same sort of team and squad. Didn't lose any players really, so it was good. It was a good group. It was a good group, and they stuck together. And no one would have, if we'd sat at the beginning of last season in a show like this, no one would have given us a chance. We'd finished previous years in 8th, 9th, so no one was really sort of looking at us really. But in the end, we got over the line, and it was good.
Scott, you want to say something?
Yeah, I'm glad Dave mentioned the Basildon Town game, because I was at that game reporting on it, and Dave's quite right. It was such a tense game. It was, everything you'd expect of a promotion 6-pointer at the time. And yeah, I remember it as Dave's describing it. And when Basildon went 2-1 up with moments remaining, man advantage as well, but just great sort of guts really that Frenford showed, not just in that game to equalise in added time, but also in that sort of very tough, congested last sort of month or two of the season really. And it was always going to be fine margins because the sheer amount of games that a lot of the sides at the top had to play.
We went to Wormley, and I think we got beat there, and it was a little bit contentious. The pitch wasn't the greatest, and we weren't at our best by far, and they were the better side on that night. And I think from that point, really, everyone started to say, they've blown it. That's it. Everyone was, a little bit. Even Wormley was sort of half spilling it as a title decider, but we knew that there was too many games left for it to be that, and there would be more twists and turns. So once people started sort of writing us off, it sort of spurred us on that little bit extra. And like you say, that even that Basildon, we just found that little bit extra at the end to just pull something out to keep us back into it, and that was a credit to the players.
Indeed, I was just going to add actually that because you won it at Hackney Wick, didn't you? We won it at Whitton, by beating, I think, Hackney Wick in that last game.
Yeah. That Hackney Wick at the time, everyone was saying, they might not get a reprieve. They need to stay up, and yourself, you go to Whittam, it's a hot day, pitch is bobbly, it's not, it's tough. So, they didn't roll over for us. They gave us a game, and it was tense for a little while just to get that goal. And then you get one goal, and then they have a couple of chances, and you're still like thinking, oh my God, and we knew at the time that Basildon were winning comfortably. But yeah, like I say, still in the end, we won that 2-0. And it weren't just that. I think just as a season as a whole, some of the tough games we had, but we just always seemed to find that little extra bit. And I think that was a credit to the team spirit that we had. And Dave,
if you had to pick a pivotal moment in the title race, what do you think it was?
It was probably that Basildon game. Like I say, it like Scott said, that it was unbelievable what happened. I've had a young lad playing for me. We'd had a corner. We're down to 10 men. We was pushing on. It was 1-1. We have a corner. It gets played into the box. We hit the crossbar, and as it's bounced down, the players thought it was in. Now, you shouldn't stop. We all know that, but the young lad who's stayed back has then run off celebrating. The refs not give it. They broke away, and then we're 2-on-1, and they've finished, and we're 2-1 down with 10 men, with a minute or so left, and you think, wow, what have we just done there? And then again, the credit to the lad Owen James, we have put it ball back into there. we managed to pick up a free kick outside the edge of the box. He steps up, puts it in the top corner, and redeems the mistake he made. And that, for me, really, from that moment on, it sort of almost deflated. It was, although it was a draw, it was like a loss for Basildon. But for us, we were still in it. Although technically, you know, it was out of our hands, we still felt that we could go and win our last few games and keep the pressure on and be enough. So, yeah, that was probably the point, really, where it was a bit of a game changer.
See, that what you said there about obviously what Owen James did there, he made a mistake and rectified it. It shows the team spirit and the strength and desire you've got in your squad to go and win the title.
Yeah, they showed it all season, really. There was certain, like, you know, yourself in that Thurlow Nunn, there's some tough places to go to. Even I mean, the first game of the season, we went away to Burnham and got beat 3-0. And I was sitting there thinking, this is going to be a tough season. You know, we're in, you know. But they literally, from then on, every time we lost the game, we recovered and went on another little run. And I think that's the difference. You know, if you go and lose 2 or 3 on the bounce, it suddenly it deflates you and everything. But what we did was, when we lost the game, we bounced straight back and won 3 or 4. So it always kept us in there, really.
Definitely. Scott?
Thanks, Adam. Yeah, I was just thinking, I'm trying to remember how fraught that week was for 3 or 4 sides that last sort of 7 to 10 days. And I remember Dave, the game you had with Benfleet was reversed, wasn't it, to your gaff? And I can't. I'm not saying it's fortunate at all. I'm just saying that you have quirks, because that would have been a really tricky.
Yeah, and to be honest, though, I think you know, I think credit to Alex Salmon and Ray over there. I mean, they had a tough running, but we did. To be honest, we actually offered to swap the game on the first Saturday. It was cancelled. And obviously, because they were still in the running for the playoffs, they said, if we wasn't, we would have switched it. But because we're in the playoffs, we don't want to switch it. Now, ultimately, if they had switched it on that weekend, they probably wouldn't. We would have probably given us a harder game because of, and so, I say a harder game because, to be honest, that night they had their backs to the walls, and it was I felt for them, because, like I say, I like them. I count them as friends.
Good,
and I didn't want to do. I had to win, you know. And you feel like, if you're going to hurt a side, that's not one of the sides you wanted, you know, because it put them out of the running for the playoffs. But ultimately, you look back and think, if you'd switched that first game, then I think with the weather, it's hard. But all the sides that played it was the sides that were ground sharing. So ultimately, you know, I think we got caught up in it, and we felt a little bit aggrieved because we're playing on a 3G. And I think we had a week where I had to throw in a friendly because we'd had I think it was 3 weeks without a game. So it was like, how's this situation arrived? We've got a 3G, we ain't had a game, but because of the ground sharing situation and the senior clubs not wanting to use their pitch. But yeah, I mean, I've got to admit, you're right. It's fortunate because, you know, it would have been they did give us a tough game that night, and we was edgy, but ultimately I think our fitness told where they just couldn't, they didn't have the legs, and that was unfortunate for them. And it's hard for them now because, you know, they were on a bit of a run, to be honest. And I think going into the playoffs, they would have had a bit of momentum going into that, and maybe caused a bit like Bengal, really, a bit of a upset.
Pete, I'll just bring you in on this one. It's interesting what Dave said about you go on a bit of a dodgy run, like you lose a couple of games and then it deflates you. I suppose there's quite a few examples that I know. The run-in, obviously, the fixture congestion probably helped no one. But if you look at some teams in that division last season, they went on a 2, 3, 4, some longer game run, and even when they came back, they struggled to gain any momentum for that. So I think Dave's right in what he's saying, that if you lose a couple of games in that league, it's very difficult to gain momentum back to where you was. And there's some clubs that definitely done that towards the end of last season.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look, I mean, teams like Benfleet played the last week of the season, played 4 games in 5 days. So by the time they played Frenford, they were probably out on their feet. You know, and Basildon the same. They played 4 games in the final week of the season, whereas Frenford played 1 midweek game and the 2 weekend games. So, you know,
well, that was tough though, Pete.
I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying it's not tough. I'm saying compared to those 2,
no, that was like, tough for the manager, not tough for the players.
Oh, I see. Yeah, and I think at this. I mean, you look at the Premier League. You look at the managers in the Premier League moaning about playing twice a week. You know, or not having enough time to recover, and these teams are playing 4 games in 5 days, and you think there was one team in another league that ran out of days left they had more games than days left of the season. So, you know, it was a bit of a crazy end. But going back to the point about bouncing back from, you know, it's no coincidence that Frenford were up right at the top with Basildon, because those 2 teams are the ones that were the most consistent and the ones that would, you know, they'd lose a game. You often learn more from a defeat. And Frenford, as you say, they bounced back every time they lost, and they didn't go into a rut of losing games, because if you lose 3-4 games in a row in this division, you're sliding down that table very fast. So, yeah, I mean, Frenford and Basildon lost 9 games between them all season. Whereas other teams were losing. Most teams lost double figures all season. I think it's only the top 4 that Sporting lost 9 games, Wormley lost 6, but then Frenford 5, Basildon 4. So consistency. We always say on the show, don't we? Consistency is key.
Yes,
very much so in these divisions, and often or not, the most consistent teams will always finish in the upper places, won't they? So that's what. One reason why
100%.
they did win the division. So.
It's just it's a weird one, because obviously I think Dave, you'll know this more than us. On any given day in that league, anyone can beat anyone, and that's why it's. And I was saying this to Scott the other day. Each year, it's been getting stronger and more competitive.
Yeah, I mean the league has grown. There's no doubt about it. It has, you know, and if I look at an example, one of our games we lost, you know, we was on a very good run, and Newbury Forest were on a terrible run. They turned up at our place, and I'll be honest, they absolutely wiped the floor of us. Beat us 6-2. I think it was. We didn't have an answer. And that just shows you, if you're a little bit off or another like that, it changes so quickly. And like you say, you could lose 2 or 3, and then suddenly you're right down the table. But then on the other flip side of that, you win 4 or 5, and you know, it's always quite tight. It's always been tight over the last few years. It's tight in them areas, but yeah, they're tough games. And I'm sure it's going to be exactly the same this season where we're going. So.
Definitely. Obviously, we'll come on to that in a bit. On the 2023 football wise, a great year to remember for Dave Forbes with the title win, obviously, and then West Ham's Europa Conference League triumph in Prague. So
I knew we wouldn't lose.
I'll make a cup of tea while you're talking about them.
Dave, I'll be honest, if someone said to you at the start of 2023, or actually the start of the season, this year Frenford will win the league and West Ham will win a European trophy, their first trophy for God since 1980, you would have laughed your head off.
I'd have probably drove them to the mental institution myself. So, you know, it's you wouldn't picture that. Well, after us winning, then I I'd sort of West Ham, I don't know, I was thinking, don't muck this up. But yeah, it's Yeah, good year footballing wise. Yeah, I can't complain.
I saw your. I think you you and your wife and little girl went to the parade, didn't you? I think.
Yes,
so.
we did.
I saw
Yeah.
the pictures you put on
The
Facebook.
thing is, she's not mad football. Although she's, from 2 weeks old, she's there every Saturday or whatever. She has no choice. So it was like, right, let's get her up to this parade, and finally she might just sort of thingy, and she did buy into it a little bit. So
yeah. I mean, so obviously, with West Ham doing that, obviously now, and I mean this in the nicest possible way, it's not every day West Ham win a trophy, although the size of the club, they should win more. Now, I don't know if you remember their last trophy win, but how did that all feel for you, sharing that moment with your family and everything like that?
Yeah,
West Ham have won a major European trophy, and that,
yeah. No, to be honest, as West Ham, it's special. For me, the most, I went with the wife to West Ham against Liverpool in the FA Cup at the Millennium Stadium. Obviously, we lost. But the last sort of prominent thing where I remember, I was fairly little, was my dad taking me to a parade in the 1980 when we beat Arsenal. So, it was prominent because that's what my dad did. He took me to, and we was at sort of Green Gate area, and that's where I took the little one as well, just to, because that was the last time you sort of had that sort of thing. So yeah, it was quite prominent for me, and it was nice, and it's I don't know. I don't know if it'll ever happen again.
So, never know. But yeah, because obviously I
not
know
with our
obviously
owners.
Yeah, obviously, as I say, that last major piece of silverware in 1980. Yeah, I know you won 2 championship playoff finals since then, but I think in football there's a difference between. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's not the same winning a playoff compared to an actual trophy. So, yeah.
I mean, I listen to a lot of Tottenham fans tell me that it's not a proper European trophy, but. Listen, it's the same as the UEFA Cup from years ago, and they were doing parades for the UEFA Cup, weren't they? So,
I'm not being funny. If Martin Brazier is watching, they won the Tiger Cup yesterday, so finally they won a trophy. Oh, I forgot it's a pre-season cup. Yeah, yeah. So it's mad. But what was your thoughts actually, obviously, on the game? Because from what I remember seeing, West Ham went in front, and Fiorentina equalised. It seemed to me that, especially some of the refereeing decisions were going against West Ham, and you thought when some of them weren't going their way, you were thinking, "Oh God, this isn't going to be their night." But then I kind of knew when Bowen went through, I thought he was going to score it, and then the rest, as I say,
I mean, I'll be honest. I don't know. It's probably one of the most horrible games I've ever watched. Because I didn't enjoy any of it because I'm so tense and so thingy. I felt less tense when at Hackney Wick on the last day, and that's when I said. So, and I'm watching this game and I'm swearing and I'm like telling everything, and it was just like, oh, this is too tense. How can you enjoy this? But then obviously at the end it's nice, but. I haven't actually watched it back, but it's probably one of them games where now you've won it, you probably watch it back and think, actually, well, what happened in that game, sort of thing, But it was a bit of a blur. So yeah,
definitely. Just obviously, Scott, you want to come in? Obviously, I know you've got West Ham connections and have got a soft spot for them. So
yeah, family connection certainly. No, it was brilliant. It was lovely to see. West Ham winning the trophy, but I can echo what Dave's saying about how tense it was, because I know I've mentioned it a few times over the years, but go way back to the 2010 League Two playoff final, which I watched semi-final and the home leg and the final. And the final against Rotherham was so tense that you couldn't enjoy that for large periods because it was absolute knife edge throughout. And fantastic game, but it was only after the final whistle went that you could actually really enjoy it. I suppose it was the same for West Ham in that final day.
It was so tense for me. I was in bed asleep.
Yeah,
but I didn't even see it. I was just I went to bed.
Pete, as a supporter, your team Norwich have won some league titles in recent years, so you can kind of relate to how Dave's feeling in a way.
Won the league. We've won the championship about 3-2. Yeah, we get going up and down. We came 13th last year. We thought let the other teams have a go. No, I used to go and watch Norwich home and away, like in the early 2000s, and there was a lot. I went to the playoff final in Cardiff in 2002. And, well, to be honest, I don't remember a lot of it because I'd been there for about 6 hours, but we won't go into why. I'd visited quite a few bars in the city. Let's put it that way. So I don't really remember. I remember the penalty shootout. That's about the only thing I remember. But yeah, no, it was. The thing is, it just shows how much you care about the team when it's that tense and that when you just feel sick. You don't feel well because you're watching it. It's just like because it means so much, But the elation at the end and the relief probably as well when you do win a game like that is astonishing. We've won. I mean, obviously Norwich have won playoff finals since then. And this, I can't watch them. I don't watch them. I just can't. I can't.
Understandable.
It's just too much. So.
I mean, Pete, your second team's obviously Sunderland. Obviously, me and you can relate because obviously the 2019 Checkatrade final. That we felt. Now, come on, let's be honest about that. That was literally the most. I know it's only the Checkatrade, but the atmosphere, 85,000 there.
Yeah,
it was probably the most tense football match I've ever watched, and it was. I mean, you even was like emotionally shattered afterwards.
Every time I go and watch Sunderland, it's like that. So there's a bit of a roller coaster. Every February when we go up there for my dad, it's like every time I go and watch them, it's just they don't do anything easily. Let's put it that way. But it's just I think with Sunderland because my dad was because of my dad and the emotion with that. Every time I watch Sunderland, it always reminds me of him. So, half of it is because it reminds me of him, and all the thoughts come flooding back, and you want him to do really well, and there's a lot of emotion involved with Sunderland, obviously. So
definitely,
they're not. It's not. Yeah, I kind of look forward to going to watch them, but I also dread it at the same time because I know what's coming.
I mean, just very briefly before we go to a break. I mean, last season obviously was a lot better, and obviously they've done. It's a lot more positive atmosphere up there now, and they've done exceptionally well. Tony Mowbray done a brilliant job with them last year.
Well, I think
to get to where they was.
I think Alex Neil leaving to go to Preston was probably a blessing in disguise. Because at the time you're thinking, oh no, they've just got on a roll. Alex Neil was doing well there, and then suddenly he leaves, and you're like, it's back to square. But then Mowbray comes in. And in fact, he's probably one of the best managers to have there in that position because he's such an experienced manager, and he doesn't panic, and he makes most of the right decisions, and he's a very no nonsense old style manager. He won't take any nonsense from anybody. So that's exactly what they needed, and. Things are heading the right. For them to make the playoffs last season was an extraordinary achievement because I was just hoping they'd stay in the division, but they did more than that, and they needed. It was a terrifying thought of them going in the Premier League, but they hopefully they can keep it going this season and keep the good work going.
I know there's a bit of mutual connection there, in a way, with you and Forbesy, because Forbesy knows former Norwich manager Dean Smith. So.
All right,
yeah. I've had Dean come and done some coaching with us, and he's didn't quite work out for him at Norwich.
I didn't mind Dean. I thought he did all right. I just think some of the fans didn't like his style of football, and unfortunately,
Yeah, it didn't quite
I
work
mean,
for
you
him
know,
there. So that
it's-
happens, don't it?
It was a hard job to. I mean, it's a hard job for anyone because everyone expects us to win every game. We're not going to do. It's not going to happen. As
Exactly.
last season showed. So
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
is he? Yeah, I mean, he's a good coach. He's a good manager. Dino, so he won't have a problem wherever else he turns up. Is he in a job with them? I don't even know.
Well, he went to Leicester, didn't he, towards the end of the season?
Oh, of course he did. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
We'll see.
Definitely. In a way, because obviously where he's a friend of yours as well, Dave. I bet in a way you felt a little bit conflicted last day of the season. There, really, didn't you?
yeah, it's
little
hard.
bit,
I didn't spoke to Dean for a little while, but I didn't think Leicester would. It was tough for them anyway, wasn't it? I think it was a tough job to go into, and it was, I just think at the time, I thought it was just too much anyway. When he went in, he didn't really have a lot to lose, did he? And I didn't think they'd keep him on. I thought they were obviously they'll look anyway. And
to be honest, you could have sent any manager into that situation.
That's what I'm saying. I think
it would be impossible because they're a team they're a team that had no confidence, were losing games, and were down the bottom. So try and turn that round is really difficult. So,
it'll be interesting because, in a way, obviously, the Championship, I think, personally, will be even stronger this year. And you can make a case probably for all three of the relegated clubs to bounce straight back, but you can also make a case for them why they would struggle. Leicester have got their strengths. Leeds have got their strengths. As much as I hate to say it, Southampton have got their strengths. So, I know Scott's laughing, but I have put Southampton up there in my top two. And you lot might think with shock, but I actually have. So
no, we're not fainting with shock, Adam. But the thing is, we're smiling because that probably hurts you to say that, given your obvious love of Southampton.
Do you know what? I'll see this briefly before we go to a song break. I was saying to people the other week, we're all laughing at them. We're all laughing at them. Yeah, let's all laugh at Southampton going down. But I said the problem is they've got the money and the resources to do a Burnley and actually sweep that Championship before them. So, and really, they have, and that's what I do fancy them. But very similar, a lot of similarities to Burnley in a way. I think that's why I think they might do well next year.
I'm just thinking, we've got to go up at some point. Norwich have got to go up at some point because we'll run out of money otherwise. We need our parachute payments. It only lasts 2 years.
Definitely.
Another 2 years to get up.
Definitely. Right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll be talking more about Frenford's Step 5 and their debut in the greatest cup competition in the world. Not the Europa Conference League, by the way, or the Tiger Cup. We'll be back in a minute.
Oh, yes.
What even was that? Yes.
That's a short song, by the way. I'm just warning you.
Okay, that's fine.
It's only 2-3 minutes long.
That's fine. Yeah. Definitely. So yes, it's going to be. I think the champion. In fact, actually, a lot of leagues are going to be really interesting this year. To be honest.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with the Championship is it's just a mental league. I mean, it's just. That really is a division where everyone beats everyone else. Apart from Burnley last season, the top two maybe. The rest are just so tight.
I mean, it's so unpredictable. Obviously, I know a couple of Saints fans, and they've turned around and said that a couple of them have said they'll turn around and win the league. A couple of them said they're not sure. And then obviously, views on the local news, they say, we'll finish mid-table. So, but like I said, you've got cases where all those scenarios could actually happen. This is it. Will they keep? Is that right? Ward-Prowse is going to West Ham, Dave?
Well, there's talk of it. I don't know how much of it is just paper talk, really. But yeah, obviously West Ham have got the money, but it's whether they want to pay that much for some.
28, isn't he? So he's not in the. He's not quite. He's got a few years left, but he's not got.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. It's not. when you're sort of talking 40 million, you'd want a little bit more, wouldn't you?
Well, didn't they bid for Gallagher as well?
Yeah, but apparently I think that was quite low, I think. And they've turned it down, but apparently they're not prepared to pay more. So, trouble is now West Ham got all that money, everyone's going to inflate the prices, aren't they?
Yeah, of course they will. Yeah.
So it's all right earning all that money off rights, but someone else would take it off you, wouldn't they?
That's the issue. Well, I think with West Ham's board, because they'll keep it and they won't want to spend it.
Yeah, well, that's the trouble. Yeah. So,
unfortunately. So yeah. Pete, who's going to have the better season, do you think? Sunderland or Norwich?
Bloody hell. Thanks. Thanks. I don't know. Based on our season, Sunderland. I don't know. I think the only good thing in Norwich this season is no one's expecting anything more from them. Because every year we've been in the Championship, we've just come down. And everyone's expecting us to go straight back up and win the league by 20 points. But
you're back, guys. You're back.
Oh, hello. We are back. I hope you enjoyed the song.
Oh, we are. We are back. We're just, for our viewers on YouTube, we're just talking about football and other matters. Welcome back to the Grassroots Football Show on East London Radio this Thursday evening. It's me, Adam, along with Pete, Scott, and Dave Forbes, the manager of Frenford, the title-winning manager from last season, and obviously got promoted a few years ago, obviously from the Olympian as well. Ian is pushing the buttons as per usual. Now, before we quickly move on, this is a great chance for Ian to obviously announce something that will be going on, hopefully, for East London Radio. So, Ian, would you be able to tell our viewers and listeners our really good news?
I don't even know what it is. No,
brilliant.
I'm guessing you mean that we might be on DAB.
Yes.
Yes. We need to raise a bit of money, guys. But we've got plenty of time. We've got about a year. But yes, we can be going on to DAB on a DAB radio near you soon. So,
yes.
More info when we have it.
Yes.
We need a bit of money to do it.
But please give us some money.
Just £3 a month. We'll get a community radio station on DAB digital radio.
We'll have to start charging listeners to listen to our show. There you go. That's all right.
Oh, yeah.
I'm joking, by the way, because that would never happen.
That's a joke. Yes. That's fine.
Or for every team that gets mentioned, I reckon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Royalties.
Yeah.
Yeah. There we go.
Yes.
Especially country. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good idea, actually. Yeah. Dave doesn't know this, but he'll be ambushed at the end for an appearance fee. I'm joking. yeah. So, but yeah. So if you can, obviously, follow East London Radio on social media, and obviously there will be links there to find out how you can get involved and help our journey onto DAB Digital. Because who wouldn't want to hear our football discussion and banter and humour on DAB Digital Radio? Who wouldn't want to hear Martin's curtains being drawn live on air? It's just, it'll be brilliant. It will
not
be
forgetting
brilliant.
Adam's jokes, of course, but we'll
of course.
Jokes in inverted commas.
Yeah. Yes. Right. Let's go on now, Dave, to the obviously to the future. Now, the Essex Senior League starts in less than 48 hours. I'll wait a little hopefully for yourselves. It will be your Step 5 debut. So, first of all, what does getting to this level after where you've been over the years, so many years down in intermediate football, and now you're in the Essex Senior League, what does it mean to yourself personally and to the club?
Well, as you guys know, we've been around so long yourselves for 9 years. Obviously, the work for me personally that's been put in, from Olympian, we was always trying to push on, and obviously the step was too big with no Step 6 league, and then obviously when the Thurlow Nunn come about, it's been hard. It's been a long journey. It's been a long journey for us. It's been tough. The amount of work, not just by me, but everyone behind the scenes that over the club, that they've backed me 100%, and because I keep pushing and let's try and do this, and I think like I said, a lot of people thought I was mad at first, but you know, we managed to establish ourselves as one of the top sides in the Olympian. You know, then we got promoted, and yeah, and it was even Thurlow Nunn. That was a new learning curve for the club, and it was something, you know, as we were still trying to build our facilities. You know, I think a lot of people lose track of that sometimes, that you think it's all about the playing and everything else, but there's people behind the scenes trying to do so much to keep the facilities right, to get all the, you know, your hospitality and everything, and trying to get people to volunteer to do stuff. You know, it's for some clubs, it's not a bottomless pit, you know, of money, and when you're relying on people to give up their time for nothing. So yeah, I'm not going to lie, it was special last year for everyone at the club. You know, I think we got to around about Christmas, and then I think the reality for people was like, well, actually, you've got a team here that could do this, you know. And they started to believe a little bit, and you just see the enthusiasm through the club, from youth level all the way through, start to grow. And that's continued, to be honest. And I think that's the positive side of it, is the club keeps growing, but it's not just growing at first team level. It's growing from, you know, your under 8s all the way up, to introducing women's football and little partnerships here and there. And I think it's for the club, it's just a massive achievement, because, you know, 10 years, 15 years ago, we was a park side. That's what we was. And now, you know, obviously I'm sure you'll touch on it, but obviously we're going, like you said, going into a massive competition as well this year for the first time for the club. It's just it's huge, and we're excited. We appreciate we're going to be the underdogs. We know that. We're not silly, but it's another challenge. It's the next step to another challenge, and the club wants to progress even more. So you have to take on each challenge and keep going with it. And everyone's equally working as hard this pre-season and everything else behind the scenes, and to keep pushing forward.
Just been looking back. I was trying to see where you were when we started.
It's going to be interesting.
Thanks.
Yeah.
No, I was just looking back when we started doing this show, the first season 9 seasons ago. Frenford finished mid-table in the Olympian Premier Division.
Jesus.
In 7th. And ironically, that was the year Wadham Lodge actually went up into the senior league. So they finished 4th. And Harold Wood won the division.
Wow.
And then I've looked every season since then, it was an improvement, 5th. And then the season after that, I think he improved. It was 5th season after that, and then the season after that, I think it was the year you actually, you finished 2nd and actually went up.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we won the Cherry Red and the Cherry Red, you know, the League Cup twice in the Olympian, the Premier Essex Premier Cup twice. You know, so they were good years for us in there as well. So
I remember seeing one game at the old place. Was it Jack Carter? No.
Yeah, it was Jack Carter Pavilion. Yeah,
the old place. It was getting very dark by the end. I remember that. But you beat Buckhurst Hill 7-1. And you think about that now, it's crazy where Buckhurst Hill have come from as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's amazing. You look at all these local sides and how they progress. You know, and you're one of those, and it must be immensely. It must fill you with pride, surely.
Yeah, I mean, I've committed myself to you know, everyone considers me just at Frenford. That's, you know, and I you know, the club's been loyal to me. I've been loyal to the club, and it's worked well. We've done all right. We've had some tough times, but you know, ultimately just to see where we've come is for the people, like the joy at the end of it last year was just not just for me, but just for everyone. It was nice to see, because they've been there as long as me and done all this as well. People a lot longer than me. So to see that come to where it is, and I'm not going to lie, I think some of them people didn't ever want to do that. They were happy where they are, and we've sort of pushed them and pushed boundaries a little bit, and we've, you know, and it still ain't stopping. You know, there'll still be more improvements to the ground, and there'll be other stuff going on, but it's just give us everyone a bit of that buzz, and like I say, from the youth level all the way up now, it's put the club on the map a little bit more. Like, you know, everyone knew us at Olympian, but then when step 6 in, we had a few years where we've tried to find our feet there, and we've not quite got the balance right. But we stayed mid-table, we kept in there, you know, and that will be our goal this year, you know, coming into the Essex Senior, to establish ourselves a little bit before, you know, you can't, you know, run before you can walk, sort of thing, you know. So yeah.
Scott?
Thanks,
Scott,
Pete.
you want to come in?
Yeah. So yeah, just on that, Dave, I'm curious about this. You must be looking forward to the challenge of competing at Step 5 in the Essex Senior next season. And I mean, two other things really to add to that. I mean, obviously, I know the lads have said it in the last few seasons on this program, but for me as well, the Essex Senior is getting tougher and tighter between the sides. And for such a welcoming club as you are, and I do mean that, it must be a challenge you're relishing.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this Essex Senior League this year. I mean, Jesus, if you're going to go into a league, and some of these clubs, you know, they're big clubs in Essex. Let's be straight about it. You can't hide away from the fact, you know, your Tilburys, your Wakerings, your Coggeshall, you know, they've all reached the heights, and there's other big clubs like Barking, and, you know, they're big clubs with big reputations. And when I first looked at the league, like the teams in it, you know, you're trying to look for a weak link, and there ain't none. and you know, you're sort of looking there, and you keep looking at it thinking something's going to pop up, something will pop up there, you know, and it ain't. But I think you know, we've managed to retain most of our players, although most of them have been on holiday most of pre-season, but that's the same for everyone, I'm sure. But it's a great challenge. It's a great challenge. You know, we won't be any different. We won't, you know, as you say, you guys know me for long enough now. You know, I won't fear no one. We'll work hard. We'll be just as hard to beat, you know. So, you know, we'll win games, we'll lose games, and then, like I say, our aim is to establish ourselves, you know, and become one of them sides in Essex that's established Essex Senior side.
Yeah, definitely wish you well in that, without any doubt whatsoever.
Good.
Dave, just to ask, obviously, we know this year that the promotion relegation is changing a little bit. There's going to be normal playoffs in the ESL, and as a result of a restructure between 4 and 5, it's allegedly there's only going to be one relegation spot from Step 5. Do you think, in a way, that helps you to establish yourself, or does it make it harder, do you think?
Don't know. If I'm to be honest, mate, it's, for me, I never think about relegation, or I'm not looking at that. If it's 3 goes down, 4 goes down, it is what it is. You know, what am I looking at? I'm looking at mid-table. I'm looking at that. Can I do that? Can we get there? Anything else beyond there, you never know. Some teams, you know, on the back, I'm not saying, you know, some teams on a row. If we go into this season with the same sort of group, add in a few players and have that same atmosphere, underdogs can sometimes, you know, grow and get something that you know. So I can't. I'm not. For me, I'm not going to look at it now and go, well, one's going to worry about that. You know, I think, yeah, same as last year, really. We could have looked at the Thurlow Nunn last year and thought, we're not going to have any chance here, but we never. We sort of said, right, let's go in here. Let's treat it a game at a time. Work hard, try and find out a bit about these sides and try and find their strengths and weaknesses and try and work without. And I think that'll be the same this year. We'll go into it, but I'm not. Listen, everyone predicts us to be relegated. I get that. You know, the side that comes up, it'll be the same with Norwich. You know, when they. Sorry, Pete. I just want to see that face again. But you know, we're not. You know, we're not looking at that at all. We're just concentrating on the thingy. But yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, I can't look at relegation.
No, but the thing is, if you start thinking about relegation, then you're already half beaten, aren't you? So
yeah, it's exactly that. You know, that's we've never been like that. So yes, I get we're a club that come from a level thingy, but you can't be frightened of the side. You know, you look at some of the signings, some of the bigger clubs have made, and you look at it, but they've got to gel. It's got to work. You know, there's no guarantees for all of them, is there? You know, and so I think we've just got to treat every game, enjoy it, and look to win as many as we can, and not, you know, even if we don't start well, we just got to keep. We didn't start well last year, and
exactly,
look how it turned around. So that's the bit we've got to take from last year into this year.
It's a marathon, not a sprint, as I say.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
You don't lose. Your season doesn't finish after 2-3 games, does it?
No.
You look at some of the sides and you think that some of those sides you were 2 levels below. Even last season. So I remember coming to see a friendly a couple of years ago, and you played Coggeshall in a friendly at home.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, I mean, the difference by the end was vast, but now you're in the same division. Yeah. So it shows how quickly things can
turn. Yeah.
It always amazes me when you see that. You're now in the same division, competing with teams that were, you know, step forward.
We was fighting to get a pre-season game.
Exactly. It's amazing
to get with a club that size, you know, and
that shows how much you've achieved.
Even a couple of years ago, we picked teams like a few years back with Saffron Walden, them sort of sides. You know, you're trying to get friendlies with all these sides, and now we're in the same league as them.
Now you're competing with them.
Now we're equals. So
good stuff, isn't it?
It is good stuff. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. And also, you enter the FA Cup this year as well. Biggest cup competition in the world. What's your thoughts regarding that?
17 years ago, when I took charge of the first team, I said to people in the club that I'll get on FA Cup football one day, and they all laughed at me.
Yeah.
And so again, it's another bit of nostalgia for the club, because, you know, it's for all the people that have put in the work, and when you say that word, the FA Cup, you know, it just for non-league clubs and everything, it's a bit of revenue, but it's massive, isn't it? It's like you say, it is the biggest cup, and it will be for clubs at our level to be in that. And then I think someone put on Twitter a picture of all the club badges, you know, and then you've got Frenford and you're 3 away from Fulham, and the reality then starts to, you realise that, hold on a minute, you're in a competition here with look at all these sides.
Yeah.
You know, 1 minute I'm looking at a league and thinking, God, I'm in a division with all these sides from Essex. Then I'm suddenly looking, I'm in another competition with, you know, and we was over the moon when we played in the Vars the other year, you know, and now this is, you know, again, you know, you would have liked a nice home draw, but that's life. That's, you know, we're away to East Thurrock. It's a real tough one, but you just looking forward to it and hope it's one of many.
Yeah. The humble surroundings of Corringham.
Yeah,
Nice place to start your FA Cup run.
that's it.
Yeah, I think you would have played. You would have played there last season against Basildon, wouldn't you? Because they play there.
Yes,
as well.
we did. Yeah, we
So
played there. In
played there
Basildon,
already.
yeah.
Yeah. So,
Familiar setting for you then.
Yeah, we know the ground, and we know it's no easy task. But again, you're the underdogs. You turn up. That's what FA Cup football's about. We're going to be giving it our all and see where we go with it.
Yeah, well, that will probably be their first game of the season.
Yeah,
because this doesn't start till the 12th. So you'd have already had 2 league games.
We would have had 2 by then, yeah.
So, that sometimes can count against these clubs who haven't played any They haven't started the competitive football yet. So, you never know. And it's the FA Cup, and we all know what the FA Cup does. So
that's right, yeah. So, yeah.
Definitely. I think it'll be, to see, like you said, obviously the significance of it, all the badges you're 3 away from Fulham, to be in the same competition as
Norwich.
Dagenham, Portsmouth, Sunderland, Arsenal, Man City, everyone. It's just unbelievable.
And European champions, West Ham.
Of course. And Man City as well, obviously. But realistically, what are your ambitions and targets for the season with both the FA Cup and obviously maybe the Vars as well, and obviously the league, which is the bread and butter, of course?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm to be honest, over the last few seasons, we haven't done that well in the cups. We haven't been the greatest. I mean, last season, we did sort of constantly. It became clear that we wanted to concentrate on the league and what have you. This year, again, I think it's about time we tried to have a little cup run. I mean, for the first year we went in the Vars, I think we got to the second round proper, but then we've not really done ourselves justice from then. We've sort of gone out first sort of rounds every time, sort of thing. So that side of it, we want to try and improve. So, like I say, I think with the FA Cup, it's got to be a big day out. It's a day out for us, and it's got to be enjoyment and for the club and the people within the club. And then, like I said, within the league, we just want to establish ourselves. We don't want to, people think we'll be the whipping boys, but people that know, who've been watched us play football, will probably know that we're not going to be in a walkover. We're not going to roll over. So for us now, it's about a case as a club establishing ourselves, and that's our goal, to establish ourselves in the league and then see where it takes us. And we want to be. It won't be any different from last year. We'll have fun with it. We'll enjoy it. There'll be tense moments and whatever, but we just want to keep that buzz going in the club. We just want to keep it going, and that really is the ambition this year. It's to carry on that enjoyment from last year. Of course, we don't expect to win the league, and we didn't expect to win it last year either. So, but we enjoyed it, and we've kept a similar sort of group. Added a few now. They're not big names. They're not people that thingy, and we're happy with that. We know what we want to do and how we want to develop, and that's what we'll try and do now. So, yeah.
Scott?
Just a quick question, Dave. Are you looking forward to renewing battles, let's say, with Bucker Still and Halstead, of course, now in the same division as them?
Yeah, I'll get a bit of stick over Halstead, to be fair. So I'm looking forward to that trip again. I think the first year I went over there, I had a bit of a run-in with Mark, and the crowd do give me a bit of stick over there, so that should be fun again. But no, listen, teams like Bucker Still and that, it'll be good to. I'm not going to lie, I felt a little bit envious when they sort of went past us, and from the Olympian went up there, and then they've tried to do everything the right way. And again, it's very hard to the facilities, that how they've changed things around over there is fantastic. So them sort of clubs, it's great that, and I can't stress enough, like some of the places we're going to go, like Buckersteel, you respect them so much, but now you're going toe to toe again. Halstead, great little ground. There's so many, isn't there? There's so many grounds now where you're looking at it. Actually, how can you not enjoy your football this year and going away to these little places, and go out with you, like you say, Saffron Waldens, you're at your Coggeshall. Obviously, we went Coggeshall anyway with Coggeshall, but used to enjoy playing now. So yeah, it's. I think it'll be nice. It'll be nice seeing some familiar faces again, and I'm looking forward to it.
Like a journey of discovery, really, all anew, I suppose.
Yeah, a little bit, and it's good for the club. We've got a nice local derby with Ilford up the road now, so Barking as well, yeah, and Woodford probably as well. So there's a few derbies in there for us. So and it'll be good. It'll be interesting to see, because I think there's probably 6 or 7 there that really think that they can win it. So
at least, yeah,
and they can't, So it's going to be an interesting league, and I'm sure we'll have a little say in some things.
Well, you could be an unknown factor to some, so that can also work in your advantage as well. But I mean, as I said, in the Vars you've got Benfleet, ironically.
Yeah.
So really
I'm hoping they've got a game the day before, so that'll be that.
Yeah. Two games. Yeah.
I'll be ringing Alex and just say, mate, I think you should have a friendly the day before.
Yeah, just play all your first team.
Yeah.
But I was just looking at your opening few games. Just talk about baptism of fire.
Yeah,
You got a little Oakley away. That's probably one of the toughest journeys, but at least that's in July and not January.
Yeah, I'd rather get that out of the way
up
now.
there in January.
Yeah.
Then you got Woodford at home, who I think are going to be up there. East Warwick in the cup. Then you got Athletic Newham away, and then Coggeshall at home.
Yeah, it's an interesting start, isn't it? Yeah, it's not bad. And then, when the fixtures come out, we did think but then, like I say, you look at that whole league. I think you actually look and think, like, where is the easy fixture? There ain't an easy fixture. They're all tough. They're all going to be tough, And you're looking at your midweek ones, and then you think, cheers for that. I've got Clacton away on a Tuesday night. Like, that's a nice welcome to the Essex Senior League, isn't it?
Cheers.
Off you go to Clacton on a Tuesday night. So
10th of October, that one. Yes.
Yeah, Hey, I think I got Halstead away on a Tuesday as well. So
lovely. Nice short trips for you.
Yeah, that's right. So
you got. It's amazing. You look at even I'm looking at the fixtures now, and I'm looking. You think, Frenford against Romford, Frenford against Coggeshall, Frenford. You just think, wow.
There's just so many of them. When I was naming them, I'm thinking, I miss people off. I miss teams off. There's so many big clubs there that you just, But this has got to be the challenge, and you've got to enjoy that as a club, So not fear it.
No, you never fear it. I mean, at the end of the day, they're on your day, so you'll always give 100%. I know what your teams are like. So, they'll know they're beating a game. Put it that way.
Yeah.
And, as I said, some teams might not like that. So, it'd be a steep learning curve, but in some ways, that's a good thing, because it gets them into the division, then, doesn't it? And so,
I think it's good for the league. I think this year, that strength of it, but it probably shows as well from the Thurlow Nunn. It's the whole strength of everything is becoming. Yeah, these leagues are getting stronger and stronger, and it's it's tough for everyone, and
it's good preparation, isn't it, for the senior? Because I mean, there's I said the Thurlow Nunn South is a tough division, as you said before. Obviously, this is a step up, but you know, it's not unachievable, is it? And you know, is there any particular? I suppose you mentioned the Ilford derby. Is there any particular games you're looking forward to, or like games you sort of when the fixtures come out, you went right? When are we playing them, or when are we going there?
Yeah, it was probably Ilford. You know, obviously I looked at Tilbury. You know, them sort of sides, they're being tipped as one of the favourites, and so you sort of look at that and think, when we got them, like, you know, all the way the luck was going, that'd probably be the third game of the season, but that's all right. So but no, it's I think the Ilford one was like the derby. It's up the road. It's, you know, used to be our ground as well, Crittlefield. So you know, for a long time ago, but there's always been a little bit of history in there.
Well, the name Frenford.
Frenford actually comes from the war years. It was before that. Well, 1923 it first started, not as a football but as a club, and it was short for Friends of Ilford.
Yeah.
So obviously we're an Ilford club, you know. So yeah.
No, so I mean, many people would have known that. That was why I brought it up.
No, that's right.
Quite interesting. Because people might not know where Frenford came from. I was like, Friends of Ilford. That's where it came from.
Well, this is the thing, Pete. Sorry, this is the thing, isn't it? I mean, the lovely thing I think for yourselves as a promoted club this season, but you've got, as we've already said, you've got quite a bit of history going back to, as you say, Dave, 5 years.
I mean, this is actually
ago.
As a football club, we started in 1943, so this is our 80th season this year.
Oh,
so
fantastic!
It's a good way to start.
Market.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, obviously, as I said, I remember the days when Frenford were. How long's the did you say? Is it 17 years when you? Since
this will be my 17th season as first team manager.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay. Yeah.
So and I've done a couple of years previously with a reserve. So no,
it's really good. It's really good, and really. I mean, as Scott alluded to earlier, we always get a warm welcome when we go there. So you know, and we've always enjoyed our journeys we've enjoyed our time at the ground, and obviously the facilities are fantastic. The facilities are good. It's just I mean, you know with the ground's only 3-sided, isn't it? Would there ever be a plan to make it all the way around?
There's a bit of scope with that. I think our initial thing for the club at the moment is to on the side where the stands are is a bit of land, a bit of grass at the back of that. Is the idea is to have changing rooms that come out onto the pitch, new clubhouse and stuff there. So drawings being made up of that at the moment, and so they're the plans going forward. So then everything's enclosed there and some of them fences. But there is scope to open the other side. So
that's good.
The ground was predominantly built as, you know, achievable to go to step 5, but then adaptable to keep going. You know, even at the ends we could put stands, and so it's adaptable. So
that's good. I remember the days when he played on the pitch when the pitch was the other way around and it was nearer the fence.
That's right. Yeah,
that's when he first went there. I saw a Premier Cup game against Holland there years ago. I remember it being that way around.
It was actually, I think it was actually 2 yards too short. The FA knew about it, but and that's why it could never stay as it was, because we would have to take some of the car park away, and And then I remember that first year coming into the Thurlow Nunn where we were trying to get the money to build a path down the side of the pitch, and madness. But
it's crazy when you think back. But look at it now. I mean, it's a fantastic.
It's part of the journey, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, you always look back and think, where we've come from and without anything. And it's, as you say, 17 years ago, and you said to them, I'm going to get this club into the FA Cup.
Yeah.
Most people probably go, what's he talking about?
Yeah.
But you kept that passion to keep it going for that long and to still have it now. It's very admirable. Put it that way. There's quite a lot of people might not have had that sort of staying power. Put it that way. But no, it's good to see that the club's going in the right direction, and obviously very interesting to see how the league pans out this season. We're going to discuss the leagues a bit more at length after the break, but we'll go for a song break now, and then after the break we'll talk about the leagues and see what we think is going to happen, which is going to be interesting. But we'll see you after the break.
Nice link, Pete.
Hello, it's gone. He's gone AWOL.
He's nowhere to be seen.
Ruminate over Portsmouth, probably, no doubt.
Well,
it's all right. Lucky enough, I have got the allocations here. I mean, Pete, if you've got them there, go on.
I've basically got all the full times up with the league table at the start of the season.
Well, do you know, because I still do a little inside the tip, Dave. Every season, at the start of the season, I bring out a new book to write all the results in. And at the start of the book is the teams that are competed in the league, the Essex Senior and the Essex Olympian Leagues. You have to do that every season, otherwise you just forget. So, Pete, I mean, I'm quite happy. Do you want me to read out the Constitution, or do you want to do it?
You go ahead. Yeah, I'm just going to message see what Adam's got to.
Okay.
He sort of just. Oh, he's back. Here he is. He's just unmuted himself.
I am
okay.
Here. I'm just sorting something out.
Yep. That's all right. That's all right. We'll carry on.
All right, we'll handle it.
Yeah, we're good. There you go. Yeah. No.
I thought it was something I said.
You have to adapt on the spot.
You
That's
do.
what you do.
Live radio.
Honestly, I thought it was something I said. I thought, did I mention Portsmouth? Did I say?
Yeah,
probably. I don't know.
We're always mentioning it as well.
I do it all the time. It's probably me mentioning the humour.
Just don't start singing when the Saints go marching in.
Absolutely, well said.
Oh dear.
Ian, could you give us a 15-second warning, please, when we're back?
Yeah, he will. He's muted at the moment.
All good.
But I'll suddenly jump into action when he goes on mute. Like, all right. But no, no, it should be this. It should be this.
Hold on.
These leagues are going to be very interesting. I mean, trying. I spoke to Adam. I spoke to you. I spoke to Richard Brock at the Hornchurch game last night, and we're all sitting scratching their heads going, don't know what's going to happen. there are a few teams that are going to have a chance. There are a few teams that will be at the bottom.
Yeah.
Trying to guess who is impossible. We don't.
Yeah.
So we'll put it. Most of what we'll say here will be incorrect by the end of the season, but we might get it roughly right.
That's why I didn't do a prediction. When I did that preview piece last week, I was like, I'm avoiding predictions.
Why do you think I gave up on the prediction thing every week?
Yeah, I remember vaguely.
That was Park Life by Blur. Great tune. Takes me back to whenever it was. Early 2000s, I think. Well, was it 90s or 2000s?
Might be the 90s, actually, yeah.
That long ago, yeah. I think how long, 90s ago. Going back nearly 3 decades, which is very... Yes, so obviously this is the Grassroots Football Show on East London Radio. It's episode 1 of season 9 of the 23-24 seasons as the league starts this weekend for some of our local sides anyway. Right, we're going to go on and discuss the obviously the constitutions for the step 5 and below
Yeah.
And I believe Scott. I think we're just going to basically pour down. So basically the allocations for the league. Yes, Scott, you've got the allocations there, haven't you?
I have. Thanks, Pete. Yeah, all in the name of research ahead of the season and what have you.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to mention straight up before we get into the nitty gritty of the Essex Senior this season. We've already mentioned them on Twitter in the lead up to this episode, but we want to wish Stansted and Sawbridgeworth Town well on their odyssey into the South Midlands Premier, as they'll be starting there. Definitely a new journey for them. So we haven't forgotten about you, and definitely wish you well for the respective seasons that you have. So,
and obviously, we want to reiterate we'll still be covering them this season, even though they've moved over, because they've been part of the senior league and part of our family. Well, they've been part of our family ever since we've been on air. So, and we're good friends with both clubs. So we will continue to cover them. Obviously, go on the journey in the Spartan with them. So, it was sad to see them leave the senior league. Obviously, Stansted were founding members. So it's
50 years.
Yeah, Sawbird been in it as long as I can remember. So it's going to be a bit of a different season for them, but no, they'll probably be back the year after. That's what normally happens, isn't it? So, but for now, yes, it's going to be interesting to see how they get on in the different division. But yeah. Right, sorry, Scott. Just thought I'd mention that.
No problem. No worries, Pete. Thank you. Totally second what you said there. Right, we're just going to very quickly go through the list of teams first, and then we'll sort of after that we'll sort of talk about what we sort of think about, as we've already sort of intimated already a little bit. But we start with Athletic Newham. Very attack-minded side under Chris Davis in the last 2 or 3 seasons. Then you've got 2 Bs, Barking and Buckhurst Hill. As we said earlier, Buckhurst Hill will be renewing acquaintances with Frenford later this term. And then further on, we've got another new side, Coggeshall Town, still at West Street. Interesting appointment there, Pete, in Rob Moore. Gareth Cleverley, I think, as assistant as well, and also their link up with Chelmsford City as well, which was announced during the closed season. Your sort of thoughts initially on those 4 clubs?
Well, start with Athletic Newham, obviously. We all know what they're about. They always play attractive attacking football when they can, and they're always in the top 10. So, and they'll always be a hard team to play against because they've got some. I mean, obviously, Richard Kone, he's always one of their star, but they have got other players who obviously he creates all the main play, and the players go around him, and you got to watch all of them because they're very quick. They're very quick players, and if you're not on your ball against them, then you certainly run into a few troubles.
Pete, just on that note, something that really sort of got me. I watched them in a lunchtime kickoff towards the end of the season at West Essex, which I think, if I remember right, was played at Barking. And the one thing I noticed in that game, but also the Buckhurst Hill game that we watched at Newham's place, was defensively, I think they've got a bit better in the last sort of half season, and I say that with all credit to Chris, Ray Barler, and Tim, the rest of the coaching staff.
Yeah, and I think a lot of these teams are. They finished 6th last season. I mean, that's a good return for the senior league, and they're always well drilled side. They're not going to be not that. I mean, with Chris and like Ray organising it, they're very good coaches, very good at getting teams set up. So they'll always be a tough team to play against. That's a tough league, the senior league. To finish to finish sixth and that is a good recovery. A good season. I was just going to say the other two. Obviously, Barking. We know Barking a lot. You know, they came down from Step 4 2 years ago. All the years go by so fast. I can never remember. I think last season they was their first in the senior league. Yeah. They came down. Obviously, they didn't. A lot of people said, "Oh, they're going to go up or they're going to get promotion," but we know that's not always the case. And obviously, you lose personnel as well. I think this season they'll give it a good crack again. They are. I mean, obviously they finished 7th last season, just behind Athletic Newham. So in terms of the season, it's pretty similar. But
yeah. Sorry, Pete. The other thing as well, I remember watching. They won a very hotly contested Errington Cup for them in May, and it just makes me think if they can reach that level on a it's that word again. We always say consistency. But if they can reach that level on a more consistent basis, I wouldn't be surprised to see them in that at least top 6.
Yeah, no, they've got. I mean, the thing is, though, as you said, we're going to come on some bit later, obviously. But you look at the 4 teams that have come down from the Ryman, not the Ryman. I keep doing that. It's not been a Ryman for 2 years. Isthmian League, just that, yeah. It was Ryman for 20 years. I guess it's a hard ever to get out of. And you know, well, obviously. Coggeshall, we mentioned just then, you know, they were one of those 4 that came down, and you know, people may expect them to be a force this season, but you know, it'll be interesting to see how they do under the new management and whatever the personnel they've got in, because obviously it won't be the same team as last year, I would have thought. So yeah, it's interesting times with Coggeshall. Actually, not long ago, we had harboured hopes of going up through the leagues, because obviously they had had Ollie Mers involved with them and all that sort of thing. And you know, it's a hard thing to maintain progression, as Forbes will tell us. You know, to progress every year, to get better and better every year, is tough. So Coggeshall, you know, obviously. They've probably got the resources, but they'll be these teams like Coggeshall will have a target on their back, because they've just come down from the Step 4 division. You know, they're expected to be up there. The teams that aren't expected to be up there, or the ones that aren't so fancied, will be raising their game against them. You just watch it. That'd be interesting. The other team you mentioned, Buckhurst Hill. Obviously, a lot of change there, off on the pitch at least, not off it. I'm obviously still the same off it, but obviously they've lost the Solosi brothers, have gone to Woodford. They obviously lost Sully and a couple of others during the season. And you know, they've got in some new players now, and it's like a sort of an end of an era, and they're sort of now trying to rebuild themselves again, because again, they're a team that have been on the up for so many years, and now they've got to this level. They've kind of just sort of, right, this is where they sort of found it. This is probably the first season. Last season was the first season that they probably had lost more than they won. I'm guessing. I think they lost more than they won, because every other year they've been going through the leagues and losing like a couple of games a season, if that. So it's when you go from that to, obviously they came 4th bottom last season and lost 21 games out of 38, and they've probably never had a season like that as a senior club before. So it's quite mentally challenging when you get, especially when you lose a lot of the side that got you up to that position. It's going to be tough, but knowing Mark and his backroom staff, and obviously Simon, the chairman, and that they'll keep believing they can push on. So it'd be interesting to see how they get on this season, but it'll be much different for them from previous years, because obviously the changes in the players and stuff. But you just got to try and adapt to what you have, as Forbes you probably know as well. So
Indeed, and you know, something to add as well, that if I remember this right, they're bringing their former under-23 side, now their reserve side, into the Essex Senior Reserve Division as well. So that would be quite interesting to see what sort of difference. But it's sort of, maybe they're thinking, right, genuine transition from reserves to first team, where perhaps because of the difference in divisions last season, that may not be as easy to sort of do. So yeah, definitely wish all four of those sides well. We're going to rifle through the next little lot of clubs. We sort of mentioned a few of them earlier. FC Clacton, Tom Austin once again with the reins there. They sort of, I think they found sort of last season, the end of last season, because they had a lot of games to pack in towards the end. They gave Redbridge a good battle in the I think it was Peter Butcher cup final from memory, but ultimately ran out of steam, I think. They've also retained a lot of players, so that will be interesting to see how they do. I think they've kept the likes of Mackenzie, Cowler, players like that, Avenel as well, I think. So I'll be interested how they go. Obviously, Frenford as well.
Quickly, Forbesy, you're going to try and maintain that position in the league. 6th place.
Yeah, it'd be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah, that would be nice. But I'd probably be a little bit annoyed I've just missed out on the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. Can you imagine? So, you finish 6th and like point outside, you'd be like,
yeah,
this is so annoying. You know? Yeah, if you'd have given you the top 10 to start the season, you'd snap your arms off for it.
Yeah, I think I'd rather finish 10th than 6th.
Like 20 points away or something, so you didn't get nowhere near it.
Indeed, yeah. Well, if it's finished as you start, that would make Newham top. So that would be would be an achievement, wouldn't it, if they manage that? But yeah, just quickly, another of the sides coming down. We welcome back Great Wakering Rovers to the Essex Senior after a couple of seasons, 2 or 3 seasons away, I think. So that'll be interesting how they do. Halstead, as we mentioned earlier, still under Mark McLean. Under his tutelage, and then the other 4 sides I'll mention just briefly for this bit. Another relegated side, Holbridge Sports, under the management now of Justin Gardner, who certainly brought in some signings, bit of a statement of intent by him and by Holbridge. They'll definitely be looking to get back in the top 5. It mentioned playoffs. I'm sure that's the aim for them. And then Ilford, as we mentioned as well, again under Richard Ponsford. I think they'll be certainly looking to, they sort of acclimatise is probably the word I would say, to step 5. Of course, a lot of that squad played for Ongar in step 7 before that, so it'll be interesting to see how they do. And then Little Oakley and Romford. So those discuss, Peter.
Yes, well, I mean, you mentioned obviously Clacton. They were right up there last year, weren't they? They were right in the battle for runners-up. I mean, Enfield kind of just walked away with the league in the end, but it was the runners-up spot was still up for grabs. I mean, Redbridge actually did go past Enfield at one point, but then Enfield put the afterburners on, didn't they? But Clacton were right in that mix for 2nd place. But obviously they fell away with Woodford at the end, and Redbridge managed to get that place. But and ultimately promotion as a result. But yeah, Clacton again, they've kept a lot onto a lot of their players from last season, so that's a good thing for them, and they'll be a tough.
There'll be a tough side, I think, because that experience from last year will set them in good stead this year. They would have learned lessons and from the end bit, and I think that's a tough place to go as well, isn't it? So, they've got that nous in their side as well. Yeah, they've got some really good experienced players who have done it, have been there and done it, and got the t-shirt, all that sort of thing. They know how to win games, and they're tough. They're tough players, and they physically and mentally. So
just as evidenced, I think Chris Ribchester is one of those players that's elected to stay, and he'll be another big component of their defence.
Yes, he likes to get forward. He likes to score a few headers as well. So,
He does.
watch him at set pieces. So every other manager in the league's like, right, watch him at set pieces. I'll now just ruin their plan. But no, I'm sure they knew this already. Obviously, Frenford, we've spoke about them. You know, there'll be as I spoke to Forbes, there'll be an unknown quantity for quite a few teams, I would have thought, especially ones coming down from step 4. So, you know, I don't think Frenford will be in a battle at the bottom. I think they'll be better than that. I really do. I don't think they'll be struggling. That's for sure.
Money's in the post, Pete.
Yeah. Cheers, Forbes. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. I'll put that towards our sponsorship so we can get the DAB.
That's right, yeah. Is that where this is going? Like?
Yeah, every little helps. Oh, no, I've just pitched Tesco slogan now as well, so copyright. Other supermarkets are available. I'm joking. Right, but no, I do think, I honestly think Frenford will surprise a few this season. I do think.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. I'm not putting any pressure on you or anything. I'm not going to say you're going to do, because I remember last time the last time you come on our show and I was going, yeah, they're top of the league, they're doing brilliant. You fell apart in the second half season.
Yeah.
What have I done? So I'm never doing that again. Wakering. Obviously, I know Wakering quite well because I only live 4 miles away from them. Apparently, they've got a good young side. They've got some good young players in for the season. They beat a Southend 11 yesterday. Well, I'm surprised Southend have got 2 11s because I didn't think they did. But they're going at the moment. So that's probably under 12s or something. No, I'm joking. You know, it's just good to be. It's good to. I mean, it's good confidence for them to be a professional club just before they start the season. You know, so that's that. I mean, I don't know how they'll do it. It all depends how they hit the ground. I guess if they get the ground running, then they'll be okay. But they'll be expecting to be in those playoffs. All the teams that come down will be thinking that's a minimal achievement. I would have thought so. But they're going to have a lot of other teams to compete against. That's for sure.
So this is the thing, Pete.
Yeah.
I think the relegated sides. I think they're going to find it harder.
Yeah, they will.
Perhaps in seasons previous to now, because as we said near the top of the show, they could very well be 8 teams vying for top 5.
Oh yeah, easily. Yeah, easy. I mean, it's going to be a hell. I mean, bringing the playoffs in is a marvelous thing because there's now you haven't just got the 1 or the 2 places to go for. You've got 5 places. You got the top and then the 5. I don't think anyone will run away with it this year. I don't think it's going to be a league like that this season. So watch someone win by 20 points now. But I don't think that's good. I really don't think it will be. I think it's going to be one of those seasons where it goes right down to the wire. I hope it is anyway, because it'd be fantastic. Wakering will be expected to be up there along as everyone else as well. House did. I mean, is this they obviously were finding their feet last season, but again, that's a hard place to go. That's a tough place to go and try and win a game of football. So, and they'll always be well set up. They'll be a solid outfit, and you know they will cause teams issues, and they won't. They'll be giving their all in every game as well. So, which you expect from every team, but you know, maybe a top 10. I don't know. Maybe bottom half. It's hard to. You just don't know, do you? But
no,
people won't expect them to be up in the top 10 or in the top places. But I don't think I think they'll be solid enough to be comfortable by the end. Let's put it that way. But we'll see, won't we? We're gonna run this back at the end of the season and see how much I've not actually got. I can already see it happening now. Holbridge now Holbridge, obviously you alluded to Justin Gardner's gone in there, and they've been signing some interesting some good players for this level. So they will definitely. I'll put Holbridge along. Well, we haven't mentioned it, but with them along with Tilbury, probably the two fancy teams at the top. But that's what most people are saying. But you know, I just think Holbridge. I just don't. I just feel with Holbridge, they want to go straight back up. I think that's their mantra, and I think if they don't, they might see it as a bit of a failure. That's how I feel. See it anyway. But time will tell. But they'll definitely. I think Holbridge are definitely one of the front runners. I would say personally. But hey, who knows? What do you guys think? Forbes, did you want to make any predictions?
I'm sitting on the fence. No, I'm not making any predictions.
I was going to say, I didn't think you would.
That is probably the worst idea you could do, is make predictions.
Yeah.
No, I'm out of this one.
You just chip in now and again with some like whatever you want to say. Ilford's an interesting one actually, because you know obviously they've got a good side. They've got some good players like every club has, but you know, Scott, how do you feel? What do you think about Ilford? I don't know. I don't really know how they're going to do this year.
Thanks, Pete.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. Let's get someone else to talk about it.
Yeah, I see what you've done there. You're right. It is tricky. I hope Adam and Richard don't mind me saying this, but they found it a little bit tricky, I think, towards the end of last season. And you know, as I sort of alluded to in the sort of introduction to them, if their squads, if they manage to keep the bulk of the squad they had last year, so Tim Pittman in goal, etc., and the squads sort of they know what, they've got a fair idea what step 5 demands of them, etc. And they get a fair to good start this term. Then you know, it may be a case of they build on that, and you know, there'll be they may have a start like Silverdrath did 12 months ago.
Yeah.
And if they have a start like that, which nobody I think have predicted, with all thoughts to Kieran and Ben over at Solvo, then they may well build on that. So yeah, that's my thought.
Good answer.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Did you mention Little Oakley and Romford?
I did. Little Oakley and Romford. Yes.
Well, I know Oakley. I mean, Oakley. I definitely think will be challenging playoffs because they've got
after the second week.
Oh yeah, obviously you're not in the first game. After they struggle in the first game of the season. No, they forgotten. I mean, they've got really some good players. They're good there, and again, like that part that is a really hard place to go. Sorry for it.
No.
You know, but I mean, at least you're going there in the end of July and not in January when it's probably freezing and blowing a gale off the North Sea. It probably will be on Saturday anyway. You know, in this summer we're having at the moment. But no, they're
another good little club that's built up though.
You know what? And they're really like, I went there once to I saw them play Ensign there in the Thurlow South a few years ago, and honestly they were. I had to get a cab there because obviously the station's miles away from the. I got out of the taxi, and they welcomed me at the taxi, took me in, got me a cup of tea. It was like rolling the red carpet out, and I was like. It's just it doesn't take much.
I first come across Little Oakley when they were in the Border League, and we met them in the Premier Cup final.
Of course,
which we did win that night. But but no, they're really nice people, and you see how the club then progressed and moved on. It's brilliant.
They're a good club, and obviously they're good. They get decent. They get quite a few people watching them as well. So you might have a decent crowd over there for your first game.
Yeah.
But when they played Harwich in the league, even in the Border League, they were getting 600 against Harwich.
Yeah.
Crazy, unbelievable amount of fans. I think they used to play Boxing Day and New Year's Day, so they used to get quite big crowds. But crazy. I mean, it's amazing. So they got that support. So I think personally they will be challenging for a playoff place. I think. And Romford, well, what can you say about Romford? I mean, such a big club, such a big history, but obviously nomadic. They haven't got their own ground. It's a shame. But you know, they again, they're a side that can potentially challenge the playoffs as well. But you know, they're a bit. They can be a bit too inconsistent at times. They were last year for sure, and you know, when they were on, they were unbeatable at times. But there were some games where they just weren't at it, and you can't do that if you want to challenge for the top 5. So they're going to have to obviously rectify that. You can say that for a lot of teams, can't you, Scott? It's just like
Certainly could.
It's like, you know, trying to be consistent is really difficult in any league, but in these divisions, it's so hard.
The thing I was reading this this week that Romford gone with continuity, keeping Dan Spinks as manager.
Yeah.
I also noticed certain Scott Doe as player coach this season. So obviously Scott Doe, former Dagenham and Dover centre half, who's played quite often for Romford last season. So fair play to him. But yeah, Romford, I think another team that if they get a good start, they may well. I mean, I suppose you have to put it down as if they get top 3, top 4. Is that a mild surprise considering the level of opposition they're against?
I think if they get a playoff, it'd be a surprise. Yeah, I do think that.
Yeah.
I'll stick my neck. I'm not scared to stick my neck out. I might be going there on Friday night. So if anyone's, they're going to get a lot of questions. But I mean, but, you know, I just think there are a few teams that are better than them. I think, and I think if they get a top 5, that'd be an incredible achievement. So, you know, I'm sure they're going to give their all and try and get that top 5 place. But I just think there are some teams ahead of them going for that. But we'll see. Could be completely wrong. So I have been many times before. So
as have we all, mate. That's the perilous nature of predictions at this stage of the season.
Yeah.
Romford, I think, if I remember right, as well, starting the ladies' team this season as well. So I'd like to wish them well as well this season. Just to go through the remainder of the teams very quickly because time is a little against us. Saffron Walden Town at Cattons Lane, obviously Terry Spillane and Michael Toner still in charge over there. We welcome back Sporting Bengal United, still under manager Steve Clark. First team, I think I'm right in saying, back to step 5 after being relegated from step 5. So that'd be really interesting to see how they do this year. I'll just go through the list and I'll get your thoughts, Pete. That's okay. The remaining teams: Stanway Rovers, still under the management of Carl Duguid. Takeley under new management. Mark Dash stepped down about a week or so ago. Apple Westcott is the new manager, and that'll be really interesting to see how his new side goes. And then rounding out the division, another relegated side, and as we've already mentioned, quite keenly thought to do well this year. Tilbury, Mark Harrison and Liam Wallace, still the management team there. And new management at West Essex. George Carls are coming in to replace Kwame Kreteng, who was there for a very long time, brought them up from step 7 into 5. So that will be really interesting to see how they go. And then finally, White Ensign still under manager Aaron Bloxham, and Woodford Town. A lot of people sort of think they'll do well this year. Shane Baptiste had a really good season last term. So over to you, Pete.
Well, obviously Walden is under. I've got a very good manager in charge, along with his assistant, and Mr. Spillane knows how to get out of this division, doesn't he? So I think Walden will be much improved this year. Obviously, they had probably, for their standards, a disappointing season last year, but you know they're definitely going to be I think they're definitely going to be fighting the others for a playoff place. Definitely, Spillane just knows how to get it done in this division, so that'll be good. Sporting are unbelievable to come straight back. I mean, it's in the start they had last season. They got beat 7-0 on the opening day. I mean, talk about. I mean, Forbes lost 3-0 on the opening day last year.
We had
It
didn't
been
go
7-0.
too well, did it?
And I feared for them at that point. I think they're just going to, because the season they just had as well. Clark has done an amazing job there. I mean, he's really got them after that opening day defeat. They then went. I think they went and won their next 3 games. So they turned it around really quickly. And obviously, the irony of winning at Stanway in the playoff final when they began the season losing 7-0 there, and they won the playoff on penalties in the same ground that they got hammered at in the opening day. It's quite a book. It's the bookend it like that. It's pretty special. And I think, I mean, they're not going. I don't think they'll pull up any trees this season. But one thing I'll say with them is they'll be well set up. They'll be solid. They'll be a solid side. The thing that Clark did last season, and even in the second half of their fateful season when they got relegated, he made them more solid. He made them more organised at the back to a certain extent, and they weren't losing games by quite as much as they were. And then obviously last season they added. Obviously it was a step down, but they did add they had Steve Carvell playing, and he's a great little player at step 6 especially. And the guy up front, whose name's now eluded me, who scored quite a few goals as well. Yes, him. That's the one. They got the balance right, and they just went on a roll, and they got into those playoffs, and they were the team in form, and they got the job done in the final. I think they'll be with a clutch of teams probably down in the bottom 6-7. I would say. Looking at it, but I don't. Again, they'll be a hard team on their day. They've done it in the past. On their day, they cause surprises, don't they? So it's good to see them back, because obviously it was a pretty tough assignment getting out of the league below. So they've done well there. Stanway, another a team who under a former ex-professional. I don't know if they still got links with Colchester. I don't know. They did have, didn't they? But again, Stanway have been another team who are solid and well set up. But I'm saying this about every team because they are. This is what this league's like. It's so hard to sort of predict where they're all going to finish, because you can't do that. But I think Stanway will be well set up, and they are pretty. Again, a hard place to go and play to beat them. That's another tough ground to go to. Sorry, Scott.
It is. Yeah, I was just going to say on Stanway, seen they've made quite a few astute signings. I think Andy Fennell, is one of them, and we know he's scored goals pretty much wherever he's been previously, and that's just doesn't surprise me, because Duga is canny manager. So again, they might be a side that no one talks about yet. Might well be.
Yeah,
top 10 or better. So
I think if I think they get top 10, they'll be really happy with that. Personally, Takeley. No, we don't. This is another step into the unknown this season. Obviously, they've been under Mark Das for as long as I can remember. Mm. So having a new manager and probably some new players in there will be interesting to see how they do this year. Just really don't know how they're going to get on. I think obviously Takeley are well renowned for being always in the mix or in the top 10 challenging. I'm not sure. I mean, it depends. They might hit the ground running. They might be the Takeley that they were, but I don't know. It's a bit of an unknown how they're going to get on under new management. But sometimes change does somebody good, doesn't it? So it might work out for them. It might spur them on again. Tilbury, obviously they are one of the fancy teams to win the division. And other people I spoke to say they're probably the favourites, but with that comes pressure. So they're expected to perform, and if they don't start well, they're going to have people on their backs and stuff, and that's hard to deal with sometimes. But knowing Mark and Liam, they'll have them well drilled. And I actually did see them play Stansted in a friendly, and they looked very good. They won 5-2, and they were very dominant, especially second half. Though Stansted did have a player sent off in a friendly, which is brilliant. But they did look a dangerous side to Albury. They're very, very dangerous, especially going forward. They had a lot of weapons, so and they'll cause a lot of teams problems. That's for sure. West Essex again, another new manager, another new era. No Kwame, the first time in how many years now? He's been a stalwart manager there. He's done a wonderful job at West Essex.
Definitely did.
They kept them going on what was a shoestring, really. They didn't really have. They definitely didn't have a budget. They didn't have anything going for them, did they? So he done an amazing job there. So it's going to be a hard person to follow. So it'd be interesting to see how they get on with new management. Ensign, Ensign, another team who they're an honest team. They're an honest side, and they'll always give their all. So, I think again they're going to be mid-table at best. I would say. I think they'll be quite happy with that, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd go mid-table for them as well.
Yeah. And finally, Woodford. Now, I think Woodford are going to be right up there this season. I really do. The last time I took Woodford up, they got beat 6-1 on the opening day. So I'm hoping that don't happen again. But we were there, Scott. No, I really do think especially after last season, the way they finished last season, they went on that amazing winning run, didn't they? But just fell short at the end because I think they had quite a few games to get through. But if they start how they finished last year, they're going to be definitely top 5. Without doubt. I think they've signed some good players. They've got a really strong team this season. Obviously they get well backed by quite good crowds at Ashton's as well. So I think they will be. I think playoffs definitely. I wouldn't be surprised they get a top 5 finish, and they're going to be right in the mix. I think personally.
No, I'll just close on Woodford with this, and I remember. Practically at the end of last season, I think it was. I saw them play. I think it was Barking, and again, another sort of cliche we often say, don't we? Fine margins, and that game really was fine margins. It just didn't quite have enough firepower to put 4 goals past Barking to win the game, but very consistent side as well. We've got to give them that audit as well. And they'll definitely be out there. Forget Woodford at your peril, basically. That closes out the Essex scene. Yeah, and we've now got to move on to this. Well, it's a huge league that you guys have just left, Dave. 22.
Done well, haven't I?
Yeah,
we have.
I'm looking forward to hearing about this, and I think you guys are more qualified to talk about it. So that's why I'm letting you carry on.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we're just going on our own merry way here.
keeping us on a tight leash, Adam. No, it's the thing is, it's there's such a lot to talk about. The fact that the Thurlow Nunn Division 1 South will come on. And the first thing to mention, I think, Pete, is there's 22 sides.
Yeah, there's 2 more in this league than in the senior. I know, it's huge.
Precisely. And I was talking to Adam about this only the other day, and it's so interesting that these sides in league terms are going to have it harder than Essex senior sides because they're going to have 42 games to play.
42 games.
Yeah. Is that a relief, Dave, that you don't have to play 42 games?
Yeah. When I see it come out, that was the first thing I thought. Oh, look, 22 teams. I've done if I was going to get out of it, this was the year to get out of it. I mean, poor old Benfleet. They got another 2 on what they had last year. So they'll be playing every day.
I just hope the weather's not like it was in the last season. Can you
imagine?
They had like 10 games to get through in a month or something. It's just
although the Thurlow Nunn League do like to play it over Christmas and everything else. So
True.
Yeah, I'm surprised it did get to that stage, but yeah.
But yeah, so as we say, 22 sides, but even that doesn't tell you the full story, because obviously you've got promoted clubs, you've got relegated clubs, and you've got obviously a reformed club as well, as we'll come on to. But, so we'll start off, three names really that are known for several, in Barkingside's case, certainly for a while. So you've got them, Basildon Town, Benfleet. Just to say on Barkingside, James Wakeling now the manager at Barkingside, who we saw play earlier in pre-season, didn't we, at Rayleigh Town?
Yeah.
It'd be really interesting to see how he does, just quickly, if you would.
I really hope he does well, because he got royally shafted at Manor. I'm not going to mince my words. He did. So I think the way he was treated by Jerry was disgusting. But so I just hope that now this is his next. This is obviously he was at Basildon with Darren for a bit, but he wasn't the number one there. This is his first number one job since Manor. So I'm hoping he gets. I mean, Jimmy will give him all the time in the world. We know what Jimmy. He likes to give his managers time, which is good. So he'll get all of this season and hopefully more. So I just hope I hope they start well and their team gets the confidence to build from that. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm happy he's got another crack at it. And Barkingside are a good club. They're another club with obviously they've been in step 4 themselves. So not too distant past. So hopefully they can get back there again, or at least get back into the senior league, because they've been down in this division for too long now. But it's a tough league. As Forbes knows, it's a very hard league.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Now you got 2 more teams in there, so it's really there's 3 more teams, isn't it?
Yeah.
Was it 19 last year? It was 19.
Yeah, 19 last year. Yeah.
So that was so 36 games. So that's 6 more games this season. That's all these clubs need, isn't it? And cup games, everything. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
exactly.
and the cups. Absolutely.
I just want to come in with a point about this, actually, about the amount of games. Now, Scott and I were looking at this a few days ago, actually. We realised, obviously, the amount of games. What's going on?
Adams, your Wi-Fi is not doing very well, I don't think.
Yes, I'm back now. Yeah, right. And, Scott and me were talking about this the other day, and if you look at the amount of games that the promoted sides played last season, it was Clapton Community had 24, Hutton had 26, and Dunmow and Brimsdown each had 32. In your opinion, like you've been through that yourself, what do you think? What's your thoughts on that? How, as a manager and a squad, do you adapt to that?
Well, I mean, to be fair, you are going to need a bigger squad, but it's very hard to keep everyone happy as well, isn't it? The only thing you're going to have is obviously with the cups, you're going to have to keep changing it around a little bit, but it will be hard for a few teams to cope with that. I think that's where it will tell. If you've got a small squad and you've got that many games, it really can hurt you, sort of thing, if you pick up a few injuries and what have you. Yeah, it's going to be tough for some of them teams, I think.
It's crazy. You think Clapton the Clapton and Hutton, that's nearly another season on top of what they played. I mean, Clapton played only 24 league games last season.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like Hutton and that wouldn't have played many games, would they, last year in the Olympian? So
they played 26 league games.
Yeah. So, now you're suddenly going to that. That's where I think when you first come into it, it's that intensity and that them amount of games playing the midweeks and some of the bigger journeys. Obviously, I know it's changed a little bit. I mean, when we first came into Thurlow Nunn, we was travelling to Harwich and places like that, so it was quite difficult at first. But yeah, that's where it'll tell. It's just getting for them sides. It's getting used to that and getting players' commitment to doing it week in, week out, and suddenly your season grows. I'm sure like in the Olympian, although it stretches out into May, there'll be weeks where you might not have games. But
yeah, exactly.
There ain't no, and like I say, Thurlow Nunn, it's a culture shock at first. They like to play on Boxing Day and stuff like that, and bank holidays, and suddenly they're all gone. Like, so now you're looking at the players' commitment and saying, look, can you do Boxing Day? And they're not being paid, and so
no, it is a lot of time they're giving up, but I think if you're winning games, it might not be as difficult, but if you're struggling, it might be harder. I mean, obviously, all the managers know what their players and the people they're getting in have to just drill into say, you got to be in it for the long haul, because this will be a long season, be a longer season than what some of you might be used to.
When I was in the Thurlow Nunn, that was one of the first conversations I had.
Yeah,
was where you play Boxing Day. So at the beginning of pre-season, you play Boxing Day. Get that in your head now. Start talking to be allowed out.
Yeah. Check your families.
Go and knock on the door to be allowed out. But no, it's drinking. One of the first conversations that you have to have to say, you're going to have to play on these days, and because if you don't, and you like you say, you hit the ground running, and you're up there, and then suddenly that Christmas period can be tough. So you can fall away very quickly, which has happened to me previously in the Thurlow Nunn, where we started off season well, and then you got to the Christmas and players didn't quite buy into it, and you're missing a few, and then you lose a few games, and you just don't recover from it. So that's where it will be tough.
It's often a make or break period, isn't it?
Yeah, and now you've got to fit these extra games in. It does seem, I don't know. I know clubs want to come up, and they're ambitious, and you respect that and whatever. But the FA do go on about numbers and that, and then suddenly you throw up leagues with 22 in it when
it's too many, isn't it? For Step 6 division, I think it's too many, but
it gets too hard, doesn't it?
Well, the thing that sort of, I've said this, privately to a couple of colleagues, is you've got 22 in Step 6, but 20 in Step 5. I'm not sure I can get my head. That's quite tricky, but got to press on. As we say, Basildon Town still under Marcus Bowers. Be really interesting to see how they recover from their travails at the end of last year. I mean, I suppose you could say the same for Benfleet as well. Be good that Alex is still there. We certainly wish him well as a local side, I think. But for myself and you, Pete, as well. First of the promoted sides now, which is Brimsdown, back in the division after a short sojourn in the Alliance League. So we wish them well. Junior Matty and his team there done a great job, Pete, just quickly.
Yeah, I think they'll surprise a few this year. I don't think they'll struggle. I think they'll surprise a few people this season. I don't think they'll get top 5, but I think they'll be more than capable of competing in this division. So, yeah.
Indeed, thank you. And you mentioned about Barkingside being another side that have been around this division for a while. Next on the list is definitely another club which I think falls under that bracket, Burnham Ramblers. Yeah.
Obviously, they had a bit of a tough year last year, losing Martin. And obviously, manager's gone. Mersky's gone. Mersky's actually gone to Cannons Wood, isn't he? Assistant. So, we get a bit of change there. So it'll be interesting to see how they adapt to that. But I'm sure I'm sure they'll be fighting for a top 5 place along with Benfleet, I think, as well. I mean, but as he's quickly mentioned, Benfleet, Alex and Co will be very disappointed to have missed out last year on the playoffs. So I think they'll make doubly sure that they're in it this year. But I think Burnham as well. I think Burnham will be another team that will be fighting for a top 5, for sure. Yeah.
Sure, indeed. I wouldn't be surprised to be fair, as far as Burnham go.
Yeah.
Just trying to kind of get through them at some pace.
Yeah.
We've got a lot to go. Cannons Wood moved to Aveley now. Be interesting how they go there. The first of the relegated sides and the first side of 2 with, let's just say, Clapton to start with. We've got the relegated side from the Essex Senior, and of course Clapton Community FC, who have come up from the Middlesex League. That'll be one heck of a derby.
They will be 2 very, very fierce games. That is for sure.
Yeah.
On and off the pitch, unfortunately. There's no love lost between them, is there? Obviously, we all know the story. So, yeah, it'd be interesting. I mean, obviously, Clapton Community obviously kept quite a few hundred fans watching them. So, teams going to the old Spotted Dog. It's nice to the old Spotted Dog back in Newcastle.
It is.
I know a lot of people didn't like the ground, but I actually quite like. I didn't mind going there. But they've done to their credit, they've tidied it up and they've made it look pretty decent now. So, and teams going there will be a lot of teams going there won't be used to playing in front of crowds like that. So it'd be interesting to see how that might be a good thing. It might be a hindrance to them if they don't play well. So, yeah, those derbies against Clapton are going to be tasty, shall we say? But it'd be interesting. I don't. Not sure how each team are going. I mean, Clapton obviously just come down, but it's a hard job. Ross is. I'm sure Ross will give it his all, but it's a tough job, that, isn't it, Clapton? Obviously, they don't really get any support at all, unfortunately, so it's quite tough. But I'm sure he'll give it a good go. But we'll see. It's interesting to see how they both get on.
Indeed, certainly will. Moving on, another of the promoted sides, this time from the Essex and Suffolk Border League, and that's Dunmow Town. That'll be another side, Pete. That'll be intriguing to see how they do.
It will be intriguing, although they've lost some players to Manor, haven't they? Well, their top scorer's gone to Manor. I know that. It's an own. He scored 64 goals last season, so that's quite a lot of goals to lose. And they're in a higher division now, so I don't know. That's. I think, Dunmow, obviously, I think they playing at Braintree still. I think they're playing at Braintree Town. They were last season anyway. So, teams will enjoy going to grounds like that because you love playing at a big ground, don't you? So I think a lot of teams might raise their game there. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out for them. But yeah, it's good to see Dunmow on the up as well. Obviously, they've come out of junior football. So yeah. See how they do.
Indeed, thank you, Pete. Next on the lengthening list, as we mentioned earlier, of the 22 clubs, Enfield Borough, Hackney Wick, who technically got a reprieve, but in fairness, it sort of thought that might be the case. And then after Hackney Wick, the reformed club is Harlow Town, making their return to non-league football, and they will be very interesting to see how they get on now that they've fixed their issues that they had at the Harlow Arena from about a season ago. And we'll just end this little bit on these 2 clubs. The first is relegated club, and this will be fascinating to see how Hoddesdon Town do this year, relegated from the Spark South Midlands Premier into this division, and club that also I've got a bit of time for as well, which is Hutton, who were the promoted side from the Olympian League, won the Olympian League last season. But as Dave alluded to earlier, it's definitely going to be different. The amount of games they've got to play, certainly. Also moving into a new venue as well. They could be playing at New Lodge, Billericay Town this season. So it'll be really interesting how Matt Singh, Dan Williams and co do there. Pete, your thoughts just quickly on some of them?
Yeah, well, I mean, Harlow Town, they're such a big club, aren't they? For them to be down in this level after what happened, it's a bit. It's a shame for the club, but at least they still have a club and they're playing again. So, really don't know how. I mean, a lot of people, a lot I've spoke to, are saying they think they're just gonna walk the league and all this and that. I don't think they would have said that, because that's not happening. They're going to find it hard. I don't know what players they've got. I don't know. I mean, I know they've been having some decent results in pre-season, but pre-seasons, I don't buy into pre-season results. I mean, the day you can have a great pre-season and then lose your first 5 games, and it's irrelevant, then, isn't it? So I think they'll be strong, and they'll certainly have a big crowd behind them. They'll get good support. So I think, they'll definitely be up there, no doubt. But obviously with Hutton, it'll be very interesting to see how they do this year. They seem to have a decent squad when I saw them play Buckhurst the other week. Obviously playing at New Lodge as well, great stadium to play in every week. But then they might have the same problem that Dunmo might get, because the teams coming to New Lodge will think, oh, this is nice, and they'll raise their game because it's a good facility to play at. So, but I'm sure Matt and Dan will have them ready and raring to go come the weekend. So, yeah, hopefully they'll do well.
Yeah, no, I hope so as well. I think Matt certainly had his eye on senior football for at least the last season, if not longer. So now that he's in the mix, he will certainly be seeing it as a challenge to be relished. I think. Yeah. Just to round out the list, 4 teams that we know: Main Baker, Newbury Forest, North West London, and Park View. And then the last 4 don't repeat. I won't ask too much about this, but first of those last 4, of course, Southend Manor. Trouble has been well documented over the last year or two. They're certainly going to have a tough season this season, I feel, anyway. And they're joined by St Margaret's Free, Tower Hamlets, and Wormley Road.
Yes. I mean, with Manor, obviously my local club, they've got a good manager in there, in Gary Monty. I mean, I was amazed when he was renounced as their manager. I was thinking, blimey, that's not a bad appointment. And he's got some decent players in as well, But it's just like when it reminds me a bit like last season. They got a really good squad. They were going to do well, and then look what happened. I just really hope Jerry gives Gary time. He needs time to build a squad, to get a team that's challenging. And if those players perform, and if Stuart Zanome starts banging in the goals, they'll be right up there. But football's not done on paper, is it? I just really hope Gary's given time to give it a shot, because you can't keep changing the manager every 5 minutes. This is what was happening last season. So if they start well, then he's got no reason to. But if it's a difficult start, you just got to stick with it. You can't keep chopping and changing because you lose a few games. But yeah, I honestly, at the end of the day, Gary's a good manager. He done well with Withenow in this division. So, he's got some form in this league. So I don't see why he can't do a good job there. And he certainly got in some good players who he knows as well. So that certainly helps.
I was back. Definitely agree with you, Pete, on Gary. Certainly what you say, knows this division, and if anyone sort of has the guts to take on a job like that, fair play to Gary. Just want to go over to you, Dave. Just your sort of, I know it's quite difficult, but if you had to sort of pick out a few clubs, Dave, that you think would be up there, challenging top 5 perhaps this season, who would you go for?
Yeah, tough one. You know, you always think, yeah, a few unknowns for me, to be fair, in there, so it's hard to sort of say. But you know, from what I know, I should imagine Cannons Wood will be tough to beat again this year. You know, obviously there's been a lot of changes. You know, you would have probably looked from last season at teams like Wormley, but obviously they've lost a lot of players, changed the manager, so I'm not sure how they'll fare. I think teams like Hutton and that will come in and do well. I think they'll, you know, like you say, Matt and Dan, that they know what they're doing, so they'll come in and do quite well. And it's nice for them going over to Billericay and. But yeah, it's a real, again, it's a tough one, isn't it? There's, like I say, it's just so many changes. I think it's a lot of the teams have changed. You know, Gary went from Withenow to there, but then had a bad season last year. Kenny changed that around at Southend Manor. Man Baker's changed the manager. It's all a little bit unknown for me this year, a little bit. So, yeah, I'll probably sit on the fence a little bit again.
You can sit on the fence if you want. I'd say it's funny you should mention Cannons Wood. Quite a few people have mentioned them as dark horses this season.
Yeah, I think they've kept the majority of their side together. And obviously they were difficult. The second half of last season, they were difficult to beat. They brought players in, and it was when we went over there, they were tough games. You know, I don't think you can. You know, I'm not, again. Harlow's gonna. You know, how are people gonna, if they do have a big crowd? You know, if they get behind them and they help them, and you know, so you know they're going to be they will be a threat. There's no doubt about it. You know, they've got experience over there, so. You know, that even if we proved last year, even if you don't hit the ground running straight away, you start to adjust to what you need and what you know, they're going to have to learn about that division. And I'm pretty sure after 5 or 6 games, they'll learn a little bit about it and start to, and then you might see a little bit more movement and clubs come to fruition like your Harlows and what have you. So, but with a lot of new managers moving around in there, it will be interesting to see who's got what and who's doing what and that. Whereas, you know, I think with the senior league, it's quite, you know, everything that's there sort of thing. You know, it's not been that much movement. But yeah, within the Thurlow Nunn, I think it will be interesting. I'm certainly pleased to have been out of it because it would have been very unknown this year.
It's going to be a very, very interesting division. Will Basildon respond from last season? How will Wormley be?
Yeah, I mean, Basildon were organised. They had their way of playing. So they've lost a few players, but I don't think that will change. Marcus ain't going to change that. So that was a tough place to go. They were very organised, and I don't expect that to change either. So again, yeah, they will be up and around that. So you might, you know, again, they're resuming battles with teams like Hutton and what have you. So you know they'll know a little bit about each other, and yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Or will Southend Manor be the full Monty? We'll have to wait and see. Yeah,
I'm not even going to say anything to that.
I have heard rumours that Southend Manor could be setting up a friendly against Watford. The losing manager gets sacked.
Well, they're competing against each other. Yeah, I know exactly. The owners are just as bad as each other. So
yeah, definitely.
Anyway, on that note, we shall move on to fixtures, Adam, before you get the joke book out too much.
Yes, just quickly, just thanks to you guys, obviously, for obviously the main body of that discussion. It was fascinating listening to it, and I kind of feel I'm not that qualified to talk about it because I'm not in the league or at that level anymore. So it's difficult to keep. It's sometimes difficult when you're running a Step 4 club to keep an eye on what's going on below. But thanks. And it was a very intriguing discussion, and it's going to be so fascinating and competitive as well.
Two crazy divisions, yeah, for sure.
And I'm not going to have obviously a long discussion about it because it was so good for what you were saying. I think we'll kind of mentioned this earlier as well, and I remember saying to Scott as well. It's 5 years this season since the Step 6 League was introduced in the region, and not only has it made it obviously that division's been competitive. It's made the Essex Senior League and the surrounding leagues, and you could say in a sense the Isthmian League as well, a lot more competitive. And I think that's what we needed. So well done, Dave and Frenford, for playing a big part in that.
Thank you, Adam. Yeah, I think it's just give everyone a stepping stone, isn't it? It's give people ambition. Some clubs, it was very hard to go from Olympian to Essex Senior. Obviously, some clubs, like you said, Wadham Lodge, when they were in grounds, were doing it. But now what this has done is it gives us a little stepping stone. And it's allowed all these clubs, even in the Alliance League, to be ambitious, to be able to dream that they can move on and be where we are now, playing FA Cup football and stuff. And listen, that can only be good for everyone in the county and whatever, can't it? So
definitely. Scott, you want to
long
make
overdue.
a point?
No, it is long overdue. I'd have to agree. Dave's already said it. I'm grateful that he has. That it really does, I think, encourage teams that have moved into Step 6 initially, but also now teams Step 7. And as Dave said, they have that ambition. And you notice quite a few teams in both the Olympian and the Alliance League are moving to senior grounds. I mean, I saw Sungate moving across to you guys, Dave, for this season. So they've no doubt got ambitions to go higher. Rayleigh Town, another one, still at Concord this season. So there's teams that have got real ambition to go into senior football, and that probably is the shot in the arm that football in this area
needs. That's the only hard thing. I think the only thing where I think they've got it wrong in terms of 22 teams, because now it's the cost for these clubs. So, some clubs can only, you can't go and stick a pylon up anymore and put some floodlights on it. It's different now, so they have to go and ground share and that. But then these extra games are going to cost extra money, and I don't think the FA look at that side of it, but listen, it's great to see some of the clubs, doing pretty much what we've done, really, looking to try and do that. And why not? Not? It like you say, it makes it more competitive. All the way through now, everyone has to be on their toes, and everyone's, and I think you can see that. I mean, when you're looking at leagues and you're going like the Essex Senior League and going, wow, look how strong that is. Look at it. Like, look at the clubs in there. Yeah. That can only be good for football. So,
yeah. Okay, we'll go through the fixtures then for the weekend. Just also one extra fixture I must mention. There are very own GFS's Martin Brazier is hosting a charity match on Sunday at Debden Sports for the British Heart Foundation against Majestic FC. Kickoff is at 11:30 a.m. So please, if you can, get down there and help raise some money for a very, very good cause. Obviously, the Essex Senior League programme starts tomorrow night with a game between Romford and Saffron Walden. And with that in mind as well, let's have a look at the other fixtures that have hang on. Press the correct button, Adam. Yeah, here's a look at the other fixtures that are in the league this weekend. So, there we go, guys. What's your thoughts?
Little Oakley look like they've got a tough one.
Yeah. Still Oakley. Takeley Woodford, possibly one stands out. Or Tilbury Athletic Newham would be a decent game as well, I think. Yeah, and obviously Barking and Bucker still. Interesting to see how that one pans out. Yeah, it's not a bad opening round of fixtures, that really. So
Definitely. One fixture I'm gonna point out, and I was saying this to Scott the other day. It's an intriguing one. Great Wakering versus Bengal, because obviously it's relegated, be promoted. Bengal have got a decent record historically against Wakering as well from previous encounters. Obviously they'll have the momentum. Wakering, we don't know how they're going to be. I know Jane Ash and that have signed back from, and they've got some interesting good young players there. But it's a case of two different worlds have collided in a way, and you don't know how it's going to be. So I think that could be the most intriguing fixture of the weekend, because I say historically, as we know, Bengal have been performed better against the bigger clubs in the league, so to speak.
yeah, but they're two teams that were 2 leagues apart last year as well, as I alluded to earlier. That's actually the game I might do Saturday as well, although it's just quite local to me, and I probably might not be bothered to travel that far. So, but yeah, no, I'm considering that on Saturday. So it'd be interesting to see how it goes, because obviously 2 teams who have had completely different seasons last year and are coming into this one with probably different ideas and different thoughts. So yeah, it's an intriguing matchup, but we'll see what happens, eh?
Definitely.
I would agree that it's certainly quite a intriguing list of fixtures. I mean, so I mean, to be honest, we could mention all of them, couldn't we?
Yeah, you could, yeah.
Because they're all. I mean, how did Coggeshall Town start at home to Ensign? Obviously, Dave's side going all the way to Little Oakley, North East Essex on day one. But as we said, better to do it early on rather than in the winter.
You to hurry up. I've got to travel in 5 minutes.
Definitely.
Okay.
Obviously, there's a full midweek round of fixtures as well. It all gets underway on Monday between Ilford and Sporting Bengal. And again, that's another game that Sporting could. That I could make a case for Sporting here to get 6 points out of 6. To be fair, but it's just an opinion.
It's the start of the season, though. It's all this intrigue in the first week of the season, isn't it? It's always the way. So
Ilford could get 6 out of 6. You don't know.
Anyone can get 6 out of 6 years. You just don't know, do you? So
yeah. It's Coggeshall versus Takeley. FC Claxton against Stanway. Big Borough Redbridge derby between Frenford and Woodford. Halstead, Little Oakley, Holbridge, Saffron, Walden. That's going to be an early barometer. And I think the game of the day is Tilbury versus Great Wakering on Tuesday. The relegated sides playing each other. So West Essex versus Newham on. It's Romford, Buckhurst Hill on Wednesday, along with White Ensign and Barking. Dave, Frenford versus Woodford local derby, first home game in the Senior League. Surely that's going to be a great occasion.
Yeah, hopefully there'll be a few people over there. So, yeah, I mean, of course, it's a tough fixture again to start with, but yeah, they're the games you want, aren't they? So, obviously they had a good season last year, and Shane's done well over there. But yeah, I'd expect a nice little crowd over there as well, and the 2 sides will have a go.
Definitely. I think Tilbury versus Wakering and Holbridge, Saffron Walden, 2 seismic matches midweek. Huge. Scott, you was going to come in there?
No, I was just thinking. Yeah, I definitely agree with Holbridge and Walden. Certainly on Tuesday, as you said, Adam. Definitely an early barometer, and both of those sides will be looking for a statement of intent with all 3 points. I think in that one.
Definitely. Okay, so before we move on to step 6, let's have a look at the other step 5 league. We're kind of covering the 4 teams in our region in the Spartan South Midlands League. Let's have a look at their opening fixtures, which start on Tuesday. So as you can see there, it's Cockfosters are away to Ardsley Town. Stansted have a long midweek trek to Biggleswade United. And there's, you could say, kind of a local affair between FC Romania and Sawbridgeworth Town, which will be interesting. Laterally moved, two new teams, laterally moved versus relegated. Be interesting to see, Pete, how FCR, Jonat's gone back in there and obviously to the club over again. And we know Romania have always been a strong side. It'll be interesting to see how they cope in a different division to what they would normally be expected, to what they're used to at Step 5.
Well, they're another team that went quite quickly through the leagues, didn't they? So and they obviously have had their struggles in the last 2 years, but I think this might be a blessing in disguise with them being back at Step 5. They can regroup, start again. Jonat's back. It's like the old, and I think that, I think they'll do all right this year. I think they'll be revitalised, I think.
Yeah. Okay. The Thurlow Nunn, obviously, Division 1 South starts tomorrow night with a game between May and Baker and Barkingside at Parkside Stadium. And here we are with the rest of the fixtures from that particular division on Saturday. So as you can see there, Burnham Ramblers host North West London. It's Clapton against Benfleet at the Terry Mac. Hackney Wick versus Brimsdown at Spa Road. Harlow Town against Hutton at the Harlow Arena. Yeah, that's it. Southend Manor Step 6 debut is against Parkview at South Church Park. And Wormley Rovers versus Clapton in the community at the Wormley Sports Ground. Dave, what fixture there catches your eye?
Well, the Harlow and Hutton, obviously, is one that sort of thingy, but also as well, I'll be honest, another side that goes predominantly the start of every season. They fell away. They've done it 2 seasons on the trot, but Parkview can be real tough side to play. Now, if they get that right again, that's a tough one for Southend Manor, the very first game.
Yes, yeah.
I know it's at Southend Manor, but predominantly Parkview always start very well. Then they drop away, don't they? Yeah. They tend to,
That's one of those really tricky ones for Manor, isn't it?
I think Joe last year lost a couple of players, and because when we played them at the start of the season, we drew at our place. It was a real battle. They were tough.
That was a two-all draw, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a real battle.
Yeah.
But then they dropped off, and then but he'd lost a few players, so it's whether he can get a few more back in. But the last 2 years they've done that. They've started off like a steam train, and then just dropped away. So that's a tough one for Southend Manor.
I think quickly, I think teams like Parkview, they do have a high retention rate. There's a few teams in that. There's a few teams like that in these divisions. They seem to have a lot of players. They don't always have the same team.
Doesn't help, does it?
It's sometimes hard to keep consistency when that's the case. But we all know about how it's hard to keep the same team all the time and the same players.
Yeah.
So
definitely. Okay, and finally the midweek games in the Thurlow Nunn South. Let's have a look at these. We have some interesting games here. Okay, so on Tuesday night it's Enfield Borough versus Parkview. North London derby there. Newbury Forest versus Clapton Community, North West London versus St Margaret's and a very intriguing local derby between Southend Manor and Benfleet. Now, I have a funny feeling I know 2 people who might be very intrigued to go and watch that game, and they're sitting on this programme right now.
I definitely will be there. Don't worry. I'm definitely going to that on Tuesday.
Scott?
Yeah, it's definitely an option under consideration, definitely, because, that's 2 home games for Manor, yes, but to start, but 2, as Dave said, Parkview are always tricky opposition, and Benfleet will certainly want to get the ball rolling with, 2 away games for them to start off with, so they'll certainly be looking to start well on the road, as they say.
Okay. And finally, Wednesday's games, you have Basildon Town versus Tower Hamlets, Clapton versus Brimsdown. I think that might be an intriguing game. 2, you could say fancied sides, I suppose. Dunmow versus Harlow at Scraley Road. Hackney Wick versus Burnham. Hutton versus their first home game at this level is against Barkingside, and it is the Parkside derby between May and Baker and Cannons Wood. Scott.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. For me, 3 games that stick out there: Basildon Town against Tower Hamlets, Hackney Wick against Burnham Ramblers. That would be really intriguing because Hackney Wick. I know we mentioned about not talking too much about pre-season results, but Hackney Wick have been doing well in pre-season, so it'd be interesting to see how they start. And Hutton Barkingside as well, because 2 sides that, for very different reasons, will be looking to start well.
What about why do you think Basildon versus Tower Hamlets sticks out?
If I had to give you an answer to that, Tower Hamlets, we don't entirely know how they're going to go. I mean, Kiernan did very well when he went in there towards the end of last season, and as we've already discussed, it'd be very interesting to see how Basildon start as well. So that's why I noted that one.
I rate Kiernan to do quite well. I think Tower Hamlets and Brimsdown, I said this to you, Scott, I think Tower Hamlets and Brimsdown in that division could be 2 teams that could, not so much gate crash the top 5, but I think they could have very, very good seasons. Junior Matty at Brimsdown is a great coach, a great bloke, and he has a good team. So I think you could quite easily make a case for Brimsdown to finish top 10 and Tower Hamlets as well, because Kiernan, yes, I know he done well last season. Yeah, he has experience with the hashtag reserves, and I know it's a different kettle of fish, but Kiernan is a safe pair of hands. He knows what he's doing, so I think that will work well for him. And same with Junior at Brimsdown. Junior's learnt from a strong Hadley team, so I think he can use experience, and I don't see why neither of them can't get top 10. I don't know if you guys would agree, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as Dave was saying, it's such in a way, it's an unknown quantity this league this year, as we've been discussing, and there's bound to be at least 2, probably 3 sides that no one's really thinking of that may well start well. And yeah, but I'm sure you guys have discussed that every week during the season. Be interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, I think it's going to be intriguing. Dave, quickly on the Wednesday ones, any games you can pick out that you?
No, I think that, like Scott said, the Hackney Wick Burnham could be quite intriguing. See how they both fare. It's like Scott said, Hackney Wick had some good form in the pre-season, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they are, and then obviously Burnham with the changes.
Yeah, although Hackney Wick did lose the other night in a pre-season friendly to Norseman FC. Yeah,
Hackney Wick 11. Yeah, Hackney Wick 11.
Yeah. So are they Norwegian, Pete?
I mean, I've no idea. Just because they're called Norsemen doesn't.
Oh dear. Definitely. Okay, well, that is about it from this edition of the Grassroots Football Show here on East London Radio. Thank you so much, Dave, for coming on, and we wish you and Frenford all the best for the Essex Senior League season ahead, and hopefully you'll be back on later in the season with you guys doing very well.
Thank you very much for having me, and like I said, it's brilliant to see you boys back again, and look forward to seeing you over at Frenford during the season. And
will do.
We'll be there.
Your tickets will be waiting for you.
Definitely.
Appreciate it.
And we wish you yourself all the best as well. Pete and Scott as well. Scott, thank you so much for being here this evening with your lovely attire of shirts there in the background. Great presentation. Yeah.
Thanks very much, Adam. Been a privilege as always. Thank you.
What about my shorts hanging on the door?
Yes, actually, they look nice as well. Yes, very presentable. Yes, Pete, thank you so much for being here as well.
Yeah, cheers. It's been really enjoyable. I'm glad we're back and firing again. So it's good stuff. Loving it.
Definitely. And Ian, the button pusher, thank you very much.
You're welcome.